And we are live. Welcome to the Hard Count. I am filling in for Mr. Anthony Conover. We have our fantastic co-host to the right, Mr. CJ, and we have special guests Ben Hoyt and Ethan Carboni. I'll start it off to you, CJ. How are you doing this fine Tuesday, September 14th?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Some internet problems. That's why we're a little late here, guys. Sorry about that, but I'm doing good. I'm glad to talk football with you guys.
And then I'll throw out that same question to you, Ben. How are we doing this fine Tuesday, September 14th?
I'm doing great, and I'm doing great, and we're 1-0, baby. Let's go.
Great, and we want to know already. I'll send out that same question to you, Ethan. How are we doing this fine Tuesday, September 14th?
I'm doing great. Football starts back up in 2 days.
Football starts back up in 2 days. That is absolutely correct, starting up with week 2. But before we get into that week 2, let's first, as the famous Anthony Conover would say, pay the bills. On the bottom ticker below, you can see all the stuff that sponsors the Unwrapped Sports Network. If you're into gambling, hit up mybookie.ag. Use promo code USN100 to double your first deposit. If your back is hurting, your back is sore, just like Jalen Hurts was with the Philadelphia Eagles, leading them to 1-0, hit up rxhemp.com. Use rxhemp-USN to save 10% off your order. If you want to get T-shirts for shows like the Hard Count, Backstop Banner, which is on Thursday, Generational Sports, which is on Monday, hit up teesprings.com, I believe, /unwrapped. You go under there, and it's also on the ticker down below to give you the code. And we have our very own Patreon account. If you donate $1, you get to help out with Unwrapped Sports. You can communicate all that fantastic stuff. But if you upgrade your tiers, if you upgrade to the $5 tier, you will get the same access where you get to communicate with us, and you get access to the Discord chat. And in the Discord chat, you could still chat with us as well through the Discord. You also get the opportunity to listen to the bets that we have up in store. You know, we see our guys from Unwrap, Corey, he has all fantastic stuff that he does there, gives out great bets, and you get to make money throughout there. And if you upgrade to the $10 tier, you have an opportunity to win a monthly giveaway. So far in the past, we've given an autographed Keenan Allen jersey. We've given away a David Montgomery autographed jersey. We got Michael Lawson in the chat saying, "What's up, guys? How we doing, Michael?" And we also have given away a signed Ricky Williams helmet. A lot of stuff potentially being given away here. And all in the minds of, if you have the opportunity to get in, you have a chance with the $10 entry itself, using that Patreon account. With all of those bills being paid, let's break down some of the week 1 games that we have in store. As many of you guys may know, week 1 has come and go, and a lot of stuff went down in week 1. A lot of unexpected things happened. You know, we saw the Green Bay Packers get their asses whipped by 35 points. We saw the Philadelphia Eagles go into Atlanta and beat up the Falcons by 26 points. We saw Damian Harris throw the game away against the Miami Dolphins. And we saw the Chicago Bears on Sunday Night Football put up a good fight. And we saw Justin Fields make Bears fans cream their pants when they saw him rushing the end zone for that touchdown on the play. So we saw a lot of big things happen on week 1. Let's first start off with the grand opener, Thursday Night Football, Dallas Cowboys versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. As many of you guys may know, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Dallas Cowboys 31-29 off a go-ahead field goal by Ryan Succop with about 6 seconds left in the game. I'll throw it out to you, CJ. What was your main recap for that game? What stood out to you the most?
I think just how Dallas fought throughout the game. Got a lot of turnovers. Was able to get some interceptions. Got a fumble on Ronald Jones to start the game. A lot of people talked about their defense heading into the season and how potentially, they weren't going to be as good, especially after last year. And I think they came out and played pretty well. I have to give them a lot of credit. Dak looked good. They weren't really able to run the ball as efficiently as they probably like to. Him throwing the ball 50 times, throwing for over 400 yards. It looked good that he was out there. He was healthy. He was moving around, moving out the pocket, making some plays, throwing some passes downfield. But I was really impressed with that defense. Got to give some credit to Dan Quinn. He's caught a lot of flack lately, especially the Super Bowl, and then the bad defensive seasons when he was the head coach with Atlanta. So I think he's a better D coordinator than head coach, and it showed. But Tampa Bay, they got the GOAT over there. They gave him too much time. He went down the field and just made enough plays. Godwin made a great catch after almost selling the game and fumbling in the red zone. But that back shoulder catch in the red zone to set it up for Succop to hit the field goal, just clutch time. So that's why the chance for a reason.
Definitely clutch time there. I thought that same question to you, Ethan. What were your main thoughts of the Thursday night game to start off week 1 off with a bang?
I'm really looking at it. Tampa Bay has 3 number 1 wide receivers, and they're going to use anywhere from – actually, you could count Gronk in there. They have 4 number 1 wide receivers, and they're going to be using 2 to 3 of them each game. I would not be surprised if we see 3 Tampa Bay receivers, including Gronk or Scotty Miller, whoever the hell they have being that third one, if it's not Evans, Brown, or Godwin, end up with 75, 80 receiving yards and a touchdown in every game. There's no way that Brady's not averaging 2.5 or more passing touchdowns a game with this offense he has. As for the Cowboys, their offense was impressive. I mean, aside from them, like CJ said, their lack of running efficiency, that wasn't the best thing to watch. But, hey, Dak's throwing it back to where he used to be. In the past X amount of games, he's been, including the first 4 or 5 before he got injured last year, he's been playing like a top 3, 4, 5 quarterback in the league. CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper played very well. It was overall probably my second favorite football game of the past week that I've ever watched.
I like the sound of that. I'll then throw it off to you, Ben. What were your main thoughts of the Thursday night football game between the Buccaneers and the Dallas Cowboys?
Dallas looked really good. I mean, last year we had some questions about Dak, how healthy he was going to be, and, how his mobility was going to be. And I see good signs from him. I mean, they gave Brady a run from his money, and then Brady just came out primetime Brady, That's what he does with a minute to go. He'll chew the clock and he'll win the game. I mean, he'll drive down the field right away. So, I mean, you shouldn't be too unhappy if you're a Dallas fan. So you're going to win a lot of games, and you can very possibly win the division. So Dallas should be a team to watch this year.
Definitely good points there. We got Anthony in the comment section. We back, baby.
Yes,
that's right.
Feel better, brother.
Yeah, definitely. He's probably got a migraine after rewatching those Patriot highlights versus the Miami Dolphins, which we will get into later on in this episode. I'll throw out a couple points. You guys made a lot of great points about the Thursday night game. I felt like it was pretty good on both sides. Obviously, for Tampa Bay, I mean, we just clearly saw, what a defending champion looks like. And this roster is still loaded with a ton of talent. We saw Antonio Brown play like he was on the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, 5 catches, 121 yards, got himself a touchdown. CJ paid for it hard for his fantasy team when he had him on his bench. I'm pretty sure he learned his lesson the hard way. We got Anthony also as well. No more victories. Cowboys dog shit confirmed. I mean, Anthony, you could say that with the entire NFC East after the week 1 performance that we saw to them. I believe the NFC East, besides Ben's Philadelphia Eagles, went 0-1. And also with that being said, you also look at Dallas and kind of as a missed opportunity. You forced 4 turnovers, and it seemed like you sold short. Greg Zuerlein struggled hard in that game. You saw him miss a gimme 30-yard field goal. I believe he missed an extra point. And then he even missed a 60-yard field goal, which obviously is expected. It's a 60-yard field goal. It's very hard to make. But Greg Zuerlein struggling. You also have to look at – it almost seemed like a classic – it also looked like a Mike McCarthy classic game, which Anthony then throws in. As a Northman, all taking L's. I mean, it wasn't our week. It wasn't the NFC North's week, just simply in general. And – just for some fact, if you're Dallas, you have 4 turnovers. You have to capitalize on those turnovers, and they just simply didn't do it. I mean, this was just one of those situations where, and I also throw it out as a Mike McCarthy game just because, for the simple fact of you get turnovers, you get the offense, and you settle short for field goals. They simply just didn't get the job done, and that is why, in turn, they took the L. With that being said, let's move on to the Sunday games. This was one of the first games that kind of shocked me with the certain outcome. The Buffalo Bills with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers went into Buffalo and got themselves the win 23-16. I'll throw out this question to you, Ben. What kind of surprised you most with the Steelers' 23-16 victory over the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo?
I mean, just how crazy that defense is. I knew that Steelers defense was good, but they looked overpowered, in that game. And I mean, Josh Allen can really move the ball. He can run. He can throw. He's a cannon of an arm. But yet we only saw him score twice against the Steelers defense. So, I mean, just how scary those Steelers look. I mean, I said to you on the prime time with Hoyt and Wise Cheese, I think there's going to be 3 teams in the playoffs from the AFC North alone. I mean, those teams are just so good.
Great points there. I'll then throw out that same question to you, Ethan. What are your reactions to the Buffalo Bills and Pittsburgh Steelers game?
Well, first off, Najee Harris being a first-round draft pick, I know it's the Bills' defense, and you're not able to base everything off one game, but not even 3 yards an average carry. Come on, if you're a first-round running back, you better be, worth that pick. Like I already hate running backs with a passion. I'm all in favor of punters are more valuable than kickers and running backs. And in all honesty, I think that running back's the least valuable position in the NFL nowadays. And Najee Harris kind of proved that with this game. But overall for the game, I think it's, like Ben said, the Steelers defense really just showed they're the best defense in the league.
They really did there. I'll throw out that same question to you, CJ. The Steelers getting the victory in Buffalo 23-16. What were your thoughts in that game? What kind of stood out to you the most?
Yeah, Pittsburgh, they stayed resilient throughout the game. Buffalo had an early lead. Like everybody said, that defense, man, is stout. TJ Watt got the bag, and he's just been playing at a high level now. When you get that type of security, knowing that you're getting paid, all you got to do is just go out there and play now. He got that extension literally like at the deadline, so he wouldn't be a free agent next year. So props to him. And they got those other guys, Melvin Ingram, big-time pickup that they picked up in the offseason. He's making plays off the edge as well, being a replacement from Bud Dupree. Got Cam Hayward in the middle of that defensive line as well. So Devin Bush is back. So they look good. The offense wasn't great. Like Ethan said, the run game could have been a little bit better. Special teams stepped up for them as well. All 3 phases of football. They just outplayed Buffalo in Buffalo, which is tough to do.
Definitely great points made there by all three of you guys. I'll add on some points. I was very impressed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, I had them before the season even started. I had the Pittsburgh Steelers winning 10 games and just sliding into the playoffs as a 7 seed of the wild card. And I just believe with this performance, they proved my point. This game really shows, the recipe of defense wins games and wins championships. The Pittsburgh Steelers held the Buffalo Bills, who were a very high-power offense last season, to only 16 points. And they held Josh Allen, who, if I pull up his stat line for the Buffalo Bills, he threw 51 passes. Guess how many yards he threw? And this could be a guess for any of you 3 guys. Guess how many yards he threw with 51 pass attempts?
270.
That is the exact number. But let's see what Ben and CJ have to say. Without knowing the correct number of 270 yards.
Yeah, I was gonna say like 220, 230 something.
What about 269?
230 something, 269. Nice. But yeah, his total stat line was 270 yards and only 1 touchdown. I was just impressed overall by the Steelers because you would think from a normal person's standpoint who doesn't know football and they see the stat line 51 attempts, they think, this guy had probably 300, 350, 3-4 touchdowns and a win. Well, you look at just 51 pass attempts, 270 yards and a touchdown. and only putting up 16 points. You just have to give it up for the Steelers defense. They held their ground in check. Like CJ mentioned, TJ Watt got paid, and he showed that he was well worth every single penny that he got paid. So overall, a fantastic win from the Steelers. While we're on the topic of the money discussion, let's move on to another team and another player who's looking for the bag. The Tennessee Titans and the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals putting on the whoop ass on the fraudulent Tennessee Titans, beating them up 38-13 in Nashville, with the man Chandler Jones highlighting it all by getting 5 sacks in that game. With that being said, I'll move it on to CJ. You see the final score, 38-13. The Cardinals just overall put on a clinic in Nashville. People thought the Tennessee Titans were going to be a good offense. You got King Henry, Mr. 2,000-yard rusher. You got Mr. Injury-prone Julio Jones. You got A.J. Brown. This offense is going to be legit. You got Mr. Flick of the Wrist, Ryan Tannehill. He looking good. He looking better than he was with Adam Gase. And the Cardinals just came into Nashville and put on, like I said earlier, the whoop ass. Just beat them up, beat them down. You name it. It was basically a murder in Nashville. What were your overall thoughts on that game?
Well, first off, for Tennessee, there's a formula to stop them. You got to put 8 in the box, load up 8 in the box, maybe 9, stop Derrick Henry, and make Ryan Tannehill beat you. And when you do that, you have a higher success of winning the game. If you don't do that, then Derrick Henry's going to run the ball. They're going to control the clock, and it's going to be tough to stop them because they're going to have the time of possession game in their hands. I just think Arizona, man. I mean, first off, Chandler Jones, he's back. He was out last year. He's one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. I think he had 19 and a half the year before he got hurt. He's just an elite guy, man. I mean, being a New England Patriot fan, seen it, saw the potential, helped us win a Super Bowl in 2014. So he's a dominant edge rusher. Bringing in J.J. Watt, his leadership to that defensive front, that's something that they needed. You got Buda Baker, Murphy on the back end. They look good. I mean, they're living up to what everybody expected to out of that division, in that NFC West division. And Kyler Murray, man, I mean, he was on a trajectory of possibly getting to that, and he was in that MVP discussion a little bit in the first half of the season last year, kind of trailed off a little bit, but now he's starting off hot again. They got Chase Edmonds in the backfield now. He can do a little bit running the football and receiving out the backfield too, so he brings a different dynamic, not similar to not what Kendrick Drake can do. So I think they play well, man. And like I said, Tennessee's defense has been dwindling over the last 2 years. That's something they have to pick up on. I got to give credit to Arizona going on the road, getting it done in a hostile environment.
And with that being said, I'll even throw out what Josh Lenara said in the comment section. Kyler for MVP after this Week 1 performance. Is he now in that conversation, or is he the one runaway winner? Granted, it is only Week 1; the season could change, but is he back in that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah. As of right now, yeah, he's the winner. If we're going off purely Week 1 performance, sure, give it to Kyler. But we've seen it in years past. Russ for MVP falls off.
Yeah, I'll even sorry to interrupt. I'll even throw it out to you, Ethan. Kyler versus Russ. Let the race begin. I personally think that makes the most sense.
It does, but let's be honest here. Both of them fell off last year. Russ has a history of, he should win an MVP and then falling off. So, do we really
can't count out Mahomes too, man? I mean,
yeah. Well, of course you can never count out Mahomes.
Yeah.
So
always in the discussion.
Yeah, if we're being honest here, you can't have this talk until Week 12, 13, 14.
Right,
but
of course.
People are still throwing this conversation around Week 1. If you're giving out weekly MVPs, yeah, sure, give it Kyler versus Russ. Sure, I'll give it to Kyler. Why not? But
yeah, definitely. Those are all great points made there. CJ, you made some phenomenal points about that overall game. I'll throw it out to Ethan as well. What were your overall reaction to this game?
Well, my dad bet the over, so he was very happy. But it was a great game. I mean, I enjoy watching when my fantasy players do well. I have Kyler Murray in a league. Kyler's been very impressive, although I'm really disappointed in the Titans. I'm sorry.
Hey man, I wouldn't blame you. I'd be disappointed with the Tennessee Titans as well. We also got Josh as well. Got to start the Russ MVP campaign early because he deserves it. I 100% agree with you on that one, Josh. Also because, as we all know, the Let Russ Cook experiment trial lasts about 8 weeks. So you got to start it up early because by the time we get to week 10, week 11, that Let Russ Cook experiment is going to go down.
It's fizzled out.
It will fizzle out. We also got Christian in the comment section. How about them Rams? We'll get to the Rams later on, but I will say, Christian, those Ramilies, as you like to call them, they looked very good on Sunday night versus the Chicago Bears.
Hey,
but
Christian,
proceed, Ethan, on why you were disappointed with the Tennessee Titans.
Before that, Christian, how about them Trojans? Stanford Cardinal beat them.
Ooh. Hey, the coach is gone. They don't have to worry about Clay Helton no more. The boogeyman's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was there for too long.
I'm sorry. Since when does Henry, my bad, I'm still thinking of Helton, and I mix up the two names. Why does Henry only get 3.4 yards to carry in a game?
Hey man, that Cardinals front's legit.
I know, but if you're Derrick Henry, if you're Mr. 2,000-yard rusher, you can't play the Jags and the Texans for 17 games.
Yeah, he always comes on late though. He always starts the season slow, and then later on he picks it up.
Agreed, but still, you can't get majority of your rushing yards against the Jags and the Texans and then be called the best running back in the league. You got to perform against all teams.
I was gonna say I don't think he'd be classified as the best running back in the league. You still got Christian McCaffrey, who's in my opinion the best running back all around.
You'd be surprised the amount of people that classify him as the best, and McCaffrey is too. Because of McCaffrey being injured for part of last year.
Yeah,
it's pick your poison. I mean, it's different styles. Henry's more of like a bruiser back. McCaffrey's more like the LaDainian Tomlinson type. He could run between the tackles, catch out the backfield. We've seen Henry style take them to the AFC Conference Championship game. We have yet to see McCaffrey style take them to where they want to go. So we'll see. But those two guys are definitely up there.
We'll definitely see. We'll definitely see what happens there. We got Arizona's defense look 10 times better than last year. Absolutely. I mean, they went all into the offseason, bringing in J.J. Watt. Still have Chandler Jones. Still got Isaiah Simmons, who's only getting better.
Isaiah Simmons played amazing. I did not realize how good Isaiah Simmons did this past game. I know he got a pick, but 9 total tackles as well.
Yeah, and that is also why I believe the New York Giants should have taken him instead of their lineman. I believe it was Andrew Thomas out of Georgia. I thought that was a mistake for the Giants to have. I thought for sure they should have took Simmons to help improve that defense. And we saw in that game against Tennessee, it does not look good. And Josh also likes to mention, big Panthers fan here, by the way. For those of you guys who are listening to this, Josh Anar's biggest Panthers fan. If you want to talk about Cam Newton, he's the biggest Cam Newton defender I have ever seen. I've seen Connie flame this guy hardcore on Cam Newton, but Josh always has his back. So Cam Newton, if you're ever listening to this on a replay, Josh is your guy to help defend you, and he'll persuade you to get a starting roster somewhere. He also throws out the point. Byron Murphy looked great too. I'll then throw it out to Ben. Ben, what were your overall thoughts of the Arizona Cardinals beatdown over the Tennessee Titans? Oh no, he's muted.
Mike's muted, brother. Yeah.
That was a great mind spasm there. It connects me back to home because my high school does run a run-heavy offense, and one time a team did load the box and it stopped it. But here's the thing about the box thing is that if you have a good quarterback, it opens up the game from the box, right? You need to have multiple options, and luckily for my high school, we do have that. The Tennessee Titans, not so much, because I think Ryan Tannehill's very overhyped in this situation. If he was as good as a quarterback as people saying he is, he would have opened up the game. He would have gotten the ball to his receivers more efficiently. He wouldn't have to depend on Derrick Henry, because remember, he only got 50 yards that game, 50-something yards. It wouldn't have been a beatdown because he would have gotten passing touchdowns, gotten his receivers involved, and it would have been a much closer game if Ryan Tannehill was a competent quarterback, period.
Definitely made some great points there. I also want to add on with some points as well. I also agree. I feel like this was a dominant performance out of Arizona. I was slightly skeptical with Arizona. I had them, on my playoff picture. I had them sliding in there as that 7th seed with 9 wins. But I mean, the way how they performed this week, they were very phenomenal. They showed up to play, and I was definitely wrong. I kind of looked at this game as Tennessee. They have the new offensive weapons. They have all the new players. It's in Tennessee. I thought they were going to play better, and the Arizona Cardinals, they showed up. Their defense looked way better. Like Josh mentioned in the comment section earlier, they looked way better. I mean, I did not expect Chandler Jones, who for most of the game was covered by Taylor Lewan. I did not expect Taylor Lewan to allow to get to him. 4 out of those 5 sacks. I mean, Taylor Lewan even said, in a tweet after the game, I got my ass kicked, onto the next one. That's just simply a simple beat down there. I also kind of want to throw in one last thing about the Titans-Cardinals game. Have you guys heard about Mike Vrabel and Julio Jones?
No,
I have not.
Well, if you guys hadn't heard about it, there was a penalty in the game, and Mike Vrabel was not happy. He called out Julio Jones for, I believe it was either an unsportsmanlike or a taunting penalty, and he called it out by saying it was a dumb shit penalty. It already kind of seems week 1, you had a bad performance. Julio Jones, you just got in the offseason. I know it's week 1 and it may be early, but could there be a slight beef brewing in Nashville after these comments? I'll throw it out to you, Ethan. You see Mike Vrabel, and obviously it was a bad performance. You see Julio Jones take a bad penalty. He calls it a dumb shit penalty. Is he right to say to Julio Jones, basically, you took a dumb shit penalty in a bad moment?
Yeah, it was. It was a dumb penalty. Like, that's completely on Julio. Should it have been public? No, it should have been a private thing. But you know what? Everything's public nowadays. Because the NFL wants controversy, and it's a business. And the more eyes they got on their craft, the better. They don't care about the relationship between a coach and a player. If the player wants out, they'll either force their way out or they'll force the coach out if they have that much clout. So.
Well, no, I honestly think in the NFL, I get there's whole stardoms and everything, and people have more clout than another player. If you do something stupid, like do a Aqib Talib, Michael Crabtree type of thing, unsportsmanlike penalty, yeah, like honestly, you should get yelled at because it's dumb, it's stupid, and you shouldn't be doing that. And you have to set an example to your other players. Hey, this isn't acceptable. We're not taking stupid penalties like this. Now get on the field and do your job correctly. Honestly.
Definitely great points made there by Ethan and Ben. I'll throw it out to you, CJ. You hear Mike Vrabel call Julio Jones with that comment. Is that something to be concerned of, or is just simply one of those, frustration being lashed out? You just got embarrassed at home to Arizona. You were projected to be a potential division winner. You laid a flat goose egg.
Yeah, I think it's the latter for sure. I don't think it's any beef or anything like that. I mean, it's week 1. Obviously, they want to come out and play a lot better against Arizona at home. Got the home crowd. All the crowds are back in all these home stadiums now, and for them to lay an egg like that, like Ethan said, he probably could have kept it private. Sometimes these coaches try to speak to the team publicly and make a point, and maybe that's what he was trying to do. Make it seem like it doesn't matter how great you are, how great you've been somewhere else. If you make a mistake, you still got to get criticized for it. And that's, maybe that was his message. We'll see how it plays out. I mean, like I said, it's still very early, but back to what Ben said about loading up the box. I mean, Tannehill I just never thought he was that guy. I know they gave him the extension after that nice little run they had after he replaced Mariota, but I just never felt like he was that guy. It's kind of in that like Kirk Cousins category.
Worse.
Definitely great.
So
great
worse?
Points there.
I said worse. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ooh,
Awesome.
hold on, Ben. You said worse. Let me hear it. Why do you think it could be worse?
I mean, he's kind of a bummy quarterback, to be completely honest. I mean, if you put Kirk Cousins on the Tennessee Titans, I think he would actually do a way better job than Tannehill would do. I mean, I think he actually is not a bad quarterback. Is he overhyped? Yeah, a lot. I mean, I would like to be completely average at my job and get paid the amount of money that Kirk Cousins does for doing that. But Tannehill's way below average. I mean, honestly, I don't think he's that good of a quarterback. See what he did in Miami and see what he did on Sunday afternoon. It just shows you he's not that good.
What about last year?
Yeah, because he opened up the game better than he did yesterday. He had more options. I mean, at least when Derrick Henry actually has a good rushing game, it opens up the game for other receivers. It depends on Derrick Henry.
Right, 100%. Yeah, that entire team goes as Henry goes. If he plays bad, look at that game against the Ravens and the wild card game. Derrick Henry had, 50 yards? They lose. Sunday, 40-something, 50 yards, they get waxed. So, yeah, I mean, Kirk, I mean, I still have them in that same category because Kirk Cousins in primetime games is terrible. But
and let me say
they're in the same year.
Let me say this before we move on real quick. I don't see Kirk Cousins too much depending on Dalvin Cook. I mean, when Dalvin Cook has a bad game, at least the Vikings compete a little bit.
Yeah.
Definitely some great points made there. I'll throw it out. I'll even throw out some more points as well regarding the Tennessee Titans and the Arizona Cardinals game. This was clearly a kind of game to where we saw one team just heavily outperform the other and live up to expectations. And that's just simply what happened in Nashville. We clearly saw the Arizona Cardinals play entirely better than the Tennessee Titans on every single front. Every single front we saw, whether it was offensively, defensively, we just saw what happened. And we also saw the blueprint to stop the Tennessee Titans. It's just simply box up Henry, which is exactly what the Arizona Cardinals did. And what happens? They couldn't get the offense going. We also saw, Julio Jones' struggles in the past. We kind of saw that come to fruition where he just simply couldn't get open and a small amount of targets, can't really get a big amount of yards. And we also saw A.J. Brown struggle for a little bit. Obviously, I do think, and it's also going to be hard for Tennessee, especially because I believe you got to play the Seattle Seahawks week 2, and then on top of that, the Indianapolis Colts week 3. So the Titans better get it together or else they could very easily fall into a path of 0-3. And when you're 0-3 in the NFL, it's almost like a death wish for trying to make the playoffs because your percentages go down a tremendous amount. Overall, this game as a whole was clearly more dominant for the Arizona Cardinals. With that being said, let's move on to the battle of two younger quarterbacks, the rookie Zach Wilson and the New York Jets versus Sam Darnold, his former team, the New York Jets, and the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers getting away with the victory here, 19-14 over the New York Jets. Before we get into the game recap, what were your guys' thoughts on the Carolina Panthers pregame having about $1 million electronic panther run along the field at the Bank of America field? I'll throw it out to you, Ben. What were your thoughts? How impressed were you seeing that?
I would say I was impressed, but someone else did it first. And I'll tell you who did it first. The Baltimore Ravens actually did it first in 2019, I believe. They had a big Raven that was the same type of thing. So, yeah, I was very impressed, but you got to be original with it to make me the most impressed, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely made some great points there. I'll throw it out to you, CJ. You kind of see the cool little panther running along the field before the game. What were kind of your thoughts of that happening?
It was cool. It was cool. Nice little thing to get the crowd hype. Again, like I said, the fans are back. They're fiending. They've been fiending for football. They've been fiending to get in these stadiums. I thought it was cool, man. Carolina's trying to do some things over there, trying to make some noise. So I thought it was a nice little gesture, and they got the win. So good Sunday for them.
Definitely good Sunday. I'll throw out the same question to you, Ethan. You see a cool little panther running along the field. I thought personally it was pretty cool. What were kind of your thoughts? Did you think it was pretty cool as well, or was it just one of those? Oh, panther makes sense.
See, I like it, but at the same time, that's what bad teams do to keep their fans entertained. The Bears a couple of years ago did like a superhero comic book theme for their players, and like they post stuff on like their socials and at the games. It's like, this is what we have instead of the actual game. Like, I think the Panthers are doing this to distract their fans from the fact that they're going to get no more than 5 or 6 wins this year.
No more than 5 or 6 wins.
Hot take out the game.
And definitely a hot take out the gate. I overall believe it was pretty cool to see the little Panther kind of run out the field pregame. I definitely love the pregame hype before that. But we don't talk about the pregame hype. We talk about the actual game. Panthers getting the big win, 19-14 over the New York Jets. I'll throw out the same question to you, CJ. What were your overall thoughts of this game? You got 2 big storylines. You got Zach Wilson's first ever start, and then you got Sam Darnold's revenge.
Sam Darnold's revenge and Christian McCaffrey's comeback. That's really how I looked at it. They, you know, this guy, son Josh. Josh, he definitely wants some beef with you, bro. But yeah, Christian McCaffrey, man. Again, he's a beast. He's a beast, man. He's an offensive weapon. I mean, Darnold was really just throwing it to him mainly, especially in that first half. They got a nice little lead. Jets struggled in the first half. They came back, tried to win the game, just wasn't able to do so. Thought Zach Wilson struggled a little bit early. Probably saw some things. I think you got to give credit to Matt Rule and that defensive staff and those guys on that side of the ball. Confusing the rookie. They did a good job of that in the first half. The second half, he started to slow down, process some things, make the right passes. Him and Corey Davis have great chemistry already, which is great. Great to see Corey Davis coming in, being a free agent, and they already have a nice chemistry though. So that's good to see if you're a Jets fan. But yeah, it was a close game. It looked like it was going to get ugly, but again, Jets, they stayed resilient. They fought back, and then almost won it. It was definitely some opportunities for them to get it done and still win in Carolina. Darnold guys, his revenge per se. I thought it was a good game for Carolina. We'll see how they play. We'll see how they play this year. They have some opportunities to maybe get in that hunt. But yeah, I think Darnold has to be a little bit more consistent, and McCaffrey's going to do his thing all the time.
Definitely great points there. I thought they said that same question to you, Ethan. What were kind of your overall thoughts of this Panthers-Jets game with the Panthers just barely edging out a 19-14 victory?
It's really showing how this team offense runs through McCaffrey when he's your leading rusher and receiver.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, I'm against running backs, and I have been for the past 2 years. McCaffrey might be the one exception if he was paid less. But, I mean, I like it. I like watching DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. I like the offense that they have. They just need to put it to better use because when you're only scoring 19 against the Jets, that's a problem.
Definitely could be a problem. I'll throw out the same question to you, Ben. What were your thoughts of this Panthers-Jets game, seeing the storylines kind of before the game?
Before I go into that, I think Ethan would like it if the Carolina Panthers got the punter more involved instead of the running back.
Well, I mean, I don't know. You only scored 19 points. For the Panthers, the punter is involved a lot of the time.
I get that, yeah. But honestly, this game told us. Yeah.
If you.
Ben,
if you want me to explain my reasoning for that, I can give you a whole 30-minute article right on that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it after. But no, I mean, this game told us pretty close to nothing, honestly. I mean, this is 2 bad teams facing off. One bad team takes a big lead, turns around, let the other bad team into the game, and then the other bad team let the other bad team hang on. I mean, that's all there is to it, because if you're going to run your offense through McCaffrey as your leading rusher and receiver, you're not going places. I'm sorry. That's one guy, and one guy's not a team. I mean, you have to get DJ more involved. You have to get Robbie. Robbie actually did a good job. He's a runner. He can play the receiver position well, but you got to get more guys involved than just McCaffrey and Robbie Anderson. And if you can't do that, you won't be successful. And the Jets are the Jets. I mean, their offensive line, they lost a player during the game. I'm blanking.
Yeah, it was Mekhi Becton.
Mekhi Becton, yeah. I mean, without him, I think your line is going to be pretty much a wet newspaper against the defense. So it's going to be really a tough year for both of these teams, I believe, especially the Jets.
Definitely going to be tough. I'll throw in some points. I felt like this was a this was a game like you guys mentioned. It was pretty much all Christian McCaffrey based. They pretty much relied heavily on them. Obviously, Josh makes some good points. Rue went for it twice in the red zone, cost us 6 points. I mean, it's one of those where if you're in the red zone, I mean, I can understand, the motto, risk it for the biscuit, risk it to get more points. But then again, you are playing the Jets. It's kind of one of those where you might as well take some of your points that you have, you may as well come away with a convincing victory. And then exactly like why give your player the best ball? Not like DJ had 6 catches, Robbie had 4 for a touchdown. They did spread out the ball a little bit, but I do believe it's one of those, man. I do believe this is one of those to where it is only week 1. It's newer during the season. Sam Darnold's just getting acclimated to the offense. I feel like it'll be one of those where if the Panthers have this kind of performance later on in the season, like week 9, week 10, I would say cause for concern with Sam Darnold and company. But I just simply think it's week 1. It's early in the season. You're obviously going to get things rolling, starting off a little slow. So we'll see how the Panthers progress later on in the season. As Josh throws out week 1 overreactions, Panthers Super Bowl champions. That is definitely an overreaction. But I will say, like they say in the meme, one day, I'm going to give it to you one day. One day, Josh. One day this won't be an overreaction and it will be a reality. But that day is not today.
Hey, Matt, one more thing about this game. I tweeted out earlier today, Corey Davis and Brandon Cooks are going to be Pro Bowlers this year. I think Corey Davis is proving me right after week 1 that Corey Davis is definitely Pro Bowl caliber wide receiver if given the targets.
Definitely. If given the targets, he could definitely progress well. With that being said, let's move on to one of the most interesting games of the weekend, which had a lot of stuff happen, and that is the Los Angeles Chargers going up against the Washington football team. And with that being said, I am going to share a screen for a hot second to basically show what the fan experience was like at good old-fashioned FedEx Field. We have a sewage leak in FedEx Field.
Sheesh. Dan Snyder, man. Get it together, kid.
Describes the organization pretty well.
Sheesh.
So we celebrate. That's what it was like here at FedEx Field as the Los Angeles Chargers took care of business 20-16. Got the job done, and there's a stat that said their head coach Brandon Staley was the first head coach to win his debut since Norv Turner in 2007. And also with that, I'm going to share your screen one more time because the Los Angeles Chargers Twitter was on a menace, on a rampage, as it is a bigger screen. But this is what the media did for the Chargers.
Oh, I saw this.
What's the letter?
Sheesh.
Yeah.
It's a little cringe, not gonna lie.
It is.
Yeah.
Not even a little.
I've seen many accounts do this. This is an original LA. Come on.
Yeah, this is
That's the Chargers right there. Washington could not catch a break one bit. And this is what Josh said. Would need my money back in compensation if I was there, and also agrees it was very cringe. I will say it was very cringe, but also very savage because I don't think we've seen that before. I mean, we've seen savage tweets, but nothing like rubbing it in the face when your stadium already has sewage problems. That's on top of that.
But I've seen that Insta post before with the Sesame Street. The problem with the Chargers doing that, they replaced a letter L, which was originally there, by the way, with a way weirder looking L that no one can understand or read. I don't know.
Well, the L was in the shape of the Washington football team logo. That's what they were trying to emphasize. It
would have been just more savage if they just left the L there. Honestly,
Ben, I think you just don't get it. Be quiet.
Yeah, Ben. That was the joke went zoom.
Yeah.
Zoom right over here. But with that being said, the Chargers got the win 20-16, but we saw crazy things happen. We saw our beloved Ryan Fitzmagic suffered a gruesome hip injury. It always seems like FedEx Field is room for injuries. I mean, you look at the last honestly say 3 to 4 years, it's injury after injury, whether it was Alex Smith's leg just getting brutally murdered, whether it's Joe Burrow last year getting his ACL knee just shattered, now with Ryan Fitzpatrick and his hip injury. Taylor Heineke went in, did everything he could, but the football team, who still has no name, fell short. I'll throw it out to you, Ben, fellow NFC East guy. What were your thoughts of this game?
Couple things, and there's playing factors into it. One, how long will Fitzmagic be out? Because
they put Ryan Fitzpatrick on the IR, so at least I believe 8 weeks. Because I believe once you're put on IR, you got the 6 to 8 week mark. But I do believe it'll be on the side of 8 weeks, so it could be a potential situation to where he could be out till week 10 or 11. But as I mentioned, the Cam lover himself, Josh Anar, says sign Cam. I believe it makes sense if they do so, the fellow Ron Rivera connection. But they do have the man Taylor Heineke, and Taylor Heineke almost beat the GOAT Tom Brady.
I know, but
you got to ride with Heineke.
That's one game, and I don't know if I'm on that train yet. If the Washington football team is going to be successful in the NFC East, that defensive line better be what they say it is. And if it's not what they say it is, and that defense fails, they will be gone.
And they also got to sign Cam.
And they also need to sign Cam. But, I don't think Taylor Heineke nor Cam could get the job done. I think Fitzmagic is a little better, as hard as it is for me to say that, being a Penn fan, he went to Harvard. No, that defense better be what they say it is, or else they're going to have a real tough time this year.
They definitely possibly will. I'll even throw it out to you, Ethan. What were your overall thoughts of this Chargers Washington football team game?
Honestly, I think Herbert actually played decent. Obviously, stats can't tell the whole story. He had a couple nice throws. I would have liked to see him complete a couple of ones. I saw him underthrow one certain one. I forget who it was to though. And then Keenan Allen played like Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams was impressive. I would like to see though. I'm confused why Eckler didn't get a single target through the air. Kind of averaged 5, 6, 7 catches last year. It's weird to think about. They just completely come out of the passing game.
Definitely great points made there, Ethan. I'll throw out that same question to you, CJ. What was overall your thoughts of this game?
The Chargers, they stay resilient. For me, Fitzpatrick getting hurt, that's tough. That's tough. They probably had a lot of high hopes. Finally got a guy that he's not a franchise quarterback. He's a journeyman. We all know this, but he could at least give them some type of consistency. He showed that in Miami last year, and him going down, it was tough. It's tough. I agree with everyone saying that they should try to get Cam. Makes the most sense.
That's right.
Yeah, for sure. And I just feel like Taylor Heineke, it's a great opportunity for him, at least right now, maybe this week and maybe next week. He could come in and maybe, show Ron Rivera something as to why maybe they should not go and sign a guy like Cam, and they should ride with him until Fitzpatrick comes back, if he comes back. So, tough for the Washington football team. And then for the Chargers, man, going on the road, it's not easy to win over there in DC. And they coming from all the way from the West Coast, first game of the season. They got it done. They did enough. They did just enough to do it. Justin Herbert in his second year played solid, like Ethan said, solid game. Keenan Allen, they got some weapons, man. They have a lot of weapons on the outside. Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. I mean, that's tough to stop. That's tough to stop, especially if Mike Williams can stay healthy. He's a big body wide receiver. We saw this at Clemson. So, if they stay consistent, they could definitely be pretty scary in the AFC. But right now, the AFC West is looking all right. So they got to keep up.
They definitely have to keep up there. Got my fellow father in the comment section. Yes, sir. Definitely a great show going. I will say you make the point of Taylor Heineke doing well. These next 2 games are going to be a big ask for him. Thursday he plays the Giants, and then next week he's got the Buffalo Bills. So if Taylor Heineke wants to prove he's the man, you go in, you beat the Giants, and you pull off a good game against the Buffalo Bills. I think that could solidify your starting spot right there. But if you fail this Thursday against the New York Giants, Ron Rivera's gonna be calling up Cam Newton and say, "Hey, one last ride." But overall, with that being said, I do believe this was a game to where this was kind of back and forth, and I kind of felt like the Chargers kind of kept it interesting. But it also proves why this Washington football team defense is so elite and so legit. You got Chase Young up front. You also have Montez Sweat, a solid front. Justin Herbert showed his good moments, and this was overall a phenomenal win by the Los Angeles Chargers. You're off on the right foot in the heavily competitive AFC West. So if anything, interlocked with the Kansas City Chiefs, you still show that you have a chance to win that game. With that being said, let's move on to a game in which I wasted 3 hours of my life, which I will never get back. And that is the Green Bay Packers playing the New Orleans Saints in Jacksonville. Quite an interesting storyline here. Obviously, all the Aaron Rodgers drama, the offseason leading up to this point. You got the New Orleans Saints as well. You have Drew Brees retiring in the offseason. You got Jameis Winston leading the way as QB1. And boy, did we get the unexpected. We saw, if you look at the stat line, you would not think which quarterback was which. Aaron Rodgers' stat line laid a flat-out goose egg, 15 of 28, 133 yards and 2 interceptions. And Jameis Winston had 14 of 20, 148 yards and 5 touchdowns. And I just simply want to say, I'm going to share my screen one more time, but the Green Bay Packers lost to this man who had one of the greatest interviews I've ever seen.
Can't hear it, bro.
Yeah, we can't hear.
Crab legs Jameis. That's who y'all lost to, man. That's tough. That's a tough one, man.
What does he want?
we lost. We lost to one of the funniest interviewer guys who basically said we came up prepared. One of my trainers said, confused for a hot second, and then just said we flat out came up prepared. You just can't make this up. This is also the same guy in Jameis Winston who accidentally said Alvin Kamara and the other running backs have the best condoms instead of tandems. This guy's quite a character, and he puts up 5 touchdowns on our defense. And like my dad mentioned, tough way to start the season. That's right. It's tough. It's tough when you lose to a guy. It's tough to lose to a guy who had a 30 for 30 season when he started. And hey, one thing I will say, whoever's the eye surgeon for his LASIK eye surgery, sign me up, because I would love to that eye surgery and then throw 5 touchdowns on the field. But in all honesty, no, with that being said, I'll start off first because I kind of need to rant a little bit just because it is my team and I feel like I should have the floor with this one.
Here we go. Let's hear this. Let's hear this one. This
was probably the worst performance I have ever seen. I remember I went to the Packers-Cardinals game many years ago where they got their asses beat 38-8. I was at the game and I saw the beating unfold. That one was bad. This beating might have topped it. You're talking, it looked like it was over from the start. The defense, nonchalant. It was pathetic. The defensive coordinator, Joe Barry, already looks like a disaster. He looks pathetic. He makes Don Capers look like Bill Belichick when he was a defensive coordinator with the Giants. He looks like he's his folklore. It is pathetic. It was a bad start on the defense. And I also kind of want to look at Aaron Rodgers and simply say, bro, what was that? There was all this chatter in the offseason. You want Randall Cobb. You said I'm staying if I want Randall Cobb. His stat line was 1 catch for 32 yards, and you didn't even throw to him. It was Jordan Love. who threw to him. Just overall pathetically bad performance on all fronts. The offense was terrible. The defense was terrible. Special teams was terrible. I mean, just overall, it was just awful. I would put on a cheesehead, but it's all the way back there, and that's too far to walk. I'm not going to do that. That's
you gotta be proud, man. You see, I'm here. We got an L. You feel me? I'm still tall, man.
There, mini cap. It's a cup holder, but this'll do. Overall, it was not a good performance. Just from the offense, from the defense, anything we tried, it just did not work. Aaron Jones had himself a terrible rush game. Devontae Adams did not look good. You know, it just overall, yeah, exactly. Like the cheese that we saw on the field was expired. My little cup holder, that's not expired. That's forever, brother. That's forever. But you know, it was just bad. It was just bad on all fronts. This was just simply a game to where, you know, you just wipe your hands away with it. You go to film the next day and you just basically point out everything that was wrong. You just say, "Hey, let's not play like this again. Let's just get this one out of the way." I mean, by this performance, yeah, it looked like he was hosting Jeopardy, and we'll wait on CJ to get back in a hot second. But you know, this overall, it was simply a bad performance. You know, you cannot play like this, especially when there was all the drama in the offseason and to lay a goose egg like that. That's not a good look. So I hopefully bounce back next week against Detroit, you know, for Monday Night Football, and you know, let's just see what happens. And with that being said, I'll move on this next question to Ben. Ben, overall, you see the Green Bay Packers just get brutally beat down on all fronts. What were your thoughts during this game? Was it just more of the Saints having a good game plan and getting the job done, or was this simply the Packers just playing flat like molded cheese?
You Packers better not give Eagles the cheese touch, if you get that reference.
Hey, man.
But no, I'll say Rodgers looked unprepared. That's what I'm going to say. You know, all that hosting Jeopardy and that contract extension talk, that took away from prepping for the season. Yeah, I know, Anthony. He will be hosting Jeopardy in like 2 weeks. But, I mean, the Saints wanted it more. I mean, Jameis didn't even have that amazing of a game. He only threw for 140-something yards, but had like 5 TD passes. That's what makes the stat line look good. I don't know. It's a really weird game that is hard to analyze, but the only thing I can purely say from it is that Aaron Rodgers is getting older, he's showing weakness, and he was unprepared.
I'll throw that same question to you, Ethan, avid Bears fan. How happy were you seeing the Green Bay Packers get brutally beat down by the Saints in Jacksonville?
I don't think I've ever been happier.
And I did not expect anything less. Could you give me some explanations on why you couldn't be any happier?
It's not every day you see a team like Green Bay lose to a team that just lost its best player of all time. And you and bring in Jameis Winston.
But yet you're still tied with them. Hooray! You're still 0-1.
Hey man, he played the Rams. At least he has an excuse.
True.
Yeah.
True.
I'm not claiming that the Bears are better than the Packers or anything like that. I'm just saying it's always good to see. It's always a good day when the Packers lose.
Yeah, I could definitely understand that. I'll throw out that same question to you, CJ. What were your overall, from an outsider's point of view, what was your just overall thoughts? Were you just more along the lines of like, sheesh, the Saints just put on a beatdown, or was it just looking at the Green Bay Packers and just say, yo man, Rodgers, you're putting on a bad performance. Denver might not sign you.
I think New Orleans is playing motivated, especially after everything that happened with the hurricane down there. You know, that defense, I'm pretty sure that team has heard all the narratives about, you know, they won't be the same after Drew left. And Defense is going to be different now. I'm pretty sure Jameis has heard it all. 30 for 30 jokes. The crab leg memes, everything. So I feel like they got a lot of motivated, inspired guys over there on that team, man. And Jameis played well. Yes, it was only 140 something yards, like Ben said. It was an efficient game. If you're getting 5 touchdowns on 14 completions, 14 out of 20, any quarterback will take that for sure. Even though it's not 300 something yards, but if you get 5 or 14 completions, that's pretty darn good. So Jameis checked the ball down, played smart. You talked about the LASIK, but I think it's also the coaching as well. He had Bruce Arians that last year, but there was time was running out there. He hadn't been there too long. Now getting a guy like Sean Payton could coach him. He's been around quarterbacks for his entire coaching career. Obviously, him and his relationship with Drew, winning the championship. Now he's with a guy like Jameis. It's not like Jameis is one of these like middle of the road guys where he's bad. He has a lot of talent. It just didn't really figure it. Just first off in Tampa Bay, his first couple years just wasn't good. I mean, they had Dirk Cutter, they had all these different type of guys. He never really had any structure in Tampa Bay. So now he goes to New Orleans, a good situation for him, an opportunity for him to be the franchise guy now. He just has to continue to stay consistent. We know he can sling. He's a gunslinger. Threw for 5,000 yards. Threw for multiple 4,000-yard seasons. So it's just about him, doing the little things, being surgical with the football, and then pushing the ball down the field. And he did a good job of being efficient on Sunday. And then for Green Bay, they just played flat. They probably underestimated New Orleans. Probably thought they could just come in there and just smack them in the mouth. Because again, like the narratives I talked about in the beginning statement. So, New Orleans wasn't having it, and they got out of control early, and it looked bad. For that to be America's Game of the Week on Fox, for them to get beat down like that, was definitely a wake up call. So, only one or two things are going to happen for this Green Bay team. They're either going to rally, or they're going to fall. Hopefully, for for your sake and for the other cheeseheads out there, they look at that as some type of inspiration and try to get it together for the rest of the season.
Yeah, we'll definitely see what happens there. Green Bay Packers better bounce back, and we thank Ethan as well for being on. It was a pleasure. All the talking points that he was able to give for the time being on. With that being said, let's move on to another game that is classified as a beatdown, and it is for the only person in this group of 3 who went 1-0. That is the Philadelphia Eagles put on a clinic against the Atlanta Falcons. Both teams had both first-year rookie head coaches. We had Arthur Smith in the Atlanta Falcons and Nick Sirianni, some say Sriracha, with the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Eagles put on a clinic. Jalen Hurts looks like QB1 as he put up a phenomenal stat line. Eagles win 32-6. I'll throw it out to the avid Eagles fan. Mr. Ben Hoyt, the floor is yours. How was your performance for the Atlanta Falcons?
You had your rant, Wise Cheese, and now I get mine. All right, so back to Philadelphia.
Well, yours isn't a rant. Yours is a celebration.
True.
So proceed.
True. You know what? I have multiple takes on this. One, the Eagles looked really good. I mean, they looked spectacular compared to recent performances. The chemistry between Hurts and Devontae Smith was unparalleled. I mean, they looked phenomenal together, just like that when they were at Bama. Number 2, I want to talk about Nick Sirianni for a minute. He coached the game smart. He really took the game and played smart. I mean, looking at his press conference earlier when he was like all nervous and staring off into space, obviously that was just a nervous coach. But when you let him do his thing, he's a very smart coach and managed the game well. Wasn't making stupid decisions like Doug Peterson. I mean, honestly, and going on to the Eagles defense, the Eagles defensive line owned Matty Ice like we always do. That's it. I mean, there were 6 points by one Young Hae-Koo, and that was it. Our offense took control, our defense maintained control, and it was a nice, speedy win.
Nice, speedy win. That's what we like to hear. I'll then throw it out to you, CJ. What were your overall thoughts on this game? Were you surprised of this outcome, or was it one of those where you expected it?
I expected the Eagles to win. Just wasn't too sure about the Falcons' defense. It's just been shaky for the last few seasons recently. So Eagles came out there. I agree with Ben. Nick Sirianni, another guy. Off season, caught a lot of flack. Because of the first interview. But that doesn't mean he can't coach. Just because he had a interview that people are going to criticize doesn't mean you can't call plays. I think he did a good job of that week one. Jalen Hurts played well. The pocket was very clean for him. Philadelphia's talent. They have a lot of talent over there. A lot of people, I think, forgot about that. I just think those guys were hurt last year. A lot of those key guys up front in the offensive line, defensive line, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham. They got some guys. They got some guys over there, man. And Devontae Smith. And that hurts. I mean, if they get it going, man, that could be a special combo in that division. That division is there for the taking always because it's always going to be competitive. All four of those teams always compete every single year. It's going to come down to Hurts continuing to stay consistent throughout the season. I think they look good. They look good against Atlanta. And for Atlanta, if this keeps spiraling out of control, it might be time to end the Matt Ryan era potentially. I just feel like he did the most he could. He won the MVP, took him to a Super Bowl, 40,000 yards in his career, multiple touchdowns. But sometimes it's just time. And I think if this continues to spiral and they continue to keep losing, have losing seasons, they might have to look elsewhere and start fresh, which is perfectly fine. They got a rookie head coach. He's not tied to Matt Ryan in any type of way. So they might be moving in that direction pretty soon if they don't figure it out.
Yeah, and by the way, I'll add real quick. Two main keys is one, Eagles need to remain healthy. That's it. I mean, the defensive line that's so good is older and more prone to injuries. And I think they really need to stay healthy in order to be successful. And two, we need to see Hurts against a more successful defense. Remember, we're facing the Falcons. And I think once we see a more successful defense, we'll see about the 49ers. They got Bosa. They got a few talented guys. That's going to be a test. That's going to be a test for them. So we'll have to see next week how Hurts handles that.
Mm-hmm. We'll definitely see how Hurts handles that. I overall believe it was a dominant performance by the Eagles. I was dead wrong. I thought for sure the Falcons would take this one just because they had the veteran quarterback. I wasn't quite sure about Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. I wasn't quite sure how they would look. But, man, after this game, the Eagles proved me wrong. I mean, the Eagles, they went out there and they dominated. They looked much better. It looked like their future trajectory is going more up. Especially with all the drama that went on with the Eagles during the offseason, with Doug Peterson being moved on, Carson Wentz being traded to Indianapolis. It's kind of a back and forth. Who are they going to get as a head coach? A lot of people thought it was going to be Eric Bieniemy. Some people thought Brian Daboll. And they pull up Nick Sirianni, and he looked like a nervous deer in the headlights during the interview. And people were like, oh, no, this is going to be another Adam Gase situation where he either looks high as a kite or he's just looking around like it's going to be a disaster. And right now, it's off to a pretty fine start. So hopefully the Eagles can keep this up. We'll see how they do next week, like Ben mentioned, against the 49ers. Going to be a bigger test there to see what happens there. That being said, let's move on to a game that CJ would not like to talk about, but it has to be done. The New England Patriots versus the Miami Dolphins. The battle of the Alabama quarterbacks, Tua Tagovailoa versus Mac Jones. Mac 10 season, as CJ would like to classify it as the New England Patriots suffered a heartbreaking loss, 17-16 at home in Foxborough. CJ, the floor is yours. What happened?
Turnovers and penalties. When you do that, especially at home or in any game, you're definitely going to have a high probability of losing. And that's exactly what happened for New England. Game was close. Every time Mac would move down the field and get some solid drives going, keep getting pushed back by holding calls and things of that nature. Miami, going up against a team like the Dolphins, they have a coaching staff, Brian Flores, a lot of those guys on that coaching staff. They know New England. They've come from that tree, from Belichick's coaching tree. So you knew it was going to be a close game. So just tough and turn the ball over. You got to give credit. Xavier Howard played the game. knocking that ball out of from Damian Harris while they're in the red zone, en route to potentially, winning the game. Here, there were like about 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter as they were driving down the field. It's just a heartbreaker, man. Ramondre Stevenson thought he was going to play solid. He got put in the doghouse out the gate after the fumble. And I thought Mac looked well. I thought Mac played well. Made some really good throws. First half, it was McDaniels was really just running the ball a lot, just trying to establish the run. Though in the second half, when they kind of opened it up, play a little bit more spread, 5 out, get those guys going. Just let Mac figure out the reads and get it to those guys and move down the field. I thought he did. I thought he was very poised going up against a really stout Miami defense. No interceptions on his end. He didn't turn the ball over. Just the running backs, they dropped the ball. And when you drop the ball and you drop the ball 4 times, lost it twice, I mean, that's going to be the difference right there. A close game. I thought Tua looked good. Didn't look great. There was some throws. He could have made it here and there. He made a big time throw to Devontae Parker on the sideline over J.C. Jackson. That was a big time play for them. The nice little out route to Waddle. Waddle could be really explosive for them. Big time threat. But Gesicki didn't even get going for them. So, they're going to be good. They're going to be a good team. If Tua just stays consistent, throws the ball down the field, continues to remain accurate, they could be a solid team. But, for New England, disappointing loss. But back to the drawing board against the Jets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's definitely hope so. I'll throw out that same question to you, Ben. What were your overall thoughts of this Dolphins 1-point win over the New England Patriots?
I'm going to insert a quote here real quick, and it's going to basically be my thesis for this whole take. John Heisman, the guy named after the Heisman Trophy, was a coach of Penn at one point, my favorite team. And he said a quote to his players like the first day of practice. It is very darkly, actually. It is better to guide a small child than to drop this ball. If you drop the ball and fumble it, you will lose. Period. I mean, you can't have turnovers, especially that late in the game. My concern with the Patriots is Mac Jones' mobility a little bit. When I saw him at Alabama, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, CJ, what he did at Alabama was mainly stay stationary in the pocket, dump it off to Waddle, dump it off to Smith, and they would run it for 20 yards. But that's basically the foundation of it. Not exactly what happened from it, but it's a foundation that Mac Jones played at. That's not going to work in the NFL. You actually have to move a little bit. And I didn't really see that in this game, and he's got to work on that. Well, however, with the Miami Dolphins, they still have a great defense. They look solid. Their kicker's the best in the league, by the way. Jason Sanders, he was the most accurate kicker in the NFL last year. Tua looked good. Jalen Waddle looked good. Offense looked good. I think they could snag a wild card spot this year. And unfortunately, New England may have to be snubbed out of a playoff spot once again.
That's definitely tough. One thing I will say is I look at that performance and it's kind of more disappointment with New England Patriots. Like you mentioned, CJ, you have 4 fumbles and you lose 2 of them. You're not going to win, and especially just the way how they lost, especially with that fumble at the end. It's just simply one of those to where you hate to see it happen. It's one of those where the Patriots they did everything they could to fight hard to win that game, and when you flat out lay a goose egg like that, that's just you just hate to see it. It's just one of those to where you look at the rookie quarterback Mac Jones. He set you up to succeed, a good chance to win the game. You're moving it down the field, and then Xavier Howard just makes a great play, punches the ball out, and it's a fumble, and end up losing the game. And that's not, it's not like one of those losses to where like, we could bounce back from it. That is a tough divisional loss, because that could be a loss to where it's going to affect the playoff picture. That's why this loss hurts the most, even though it is week 1 and it's early in the season. This is the kind of loss to where, like Ben mentioned, if it comes down to the final wild card spot and the Patriots and the Dolphins are tied for the final record, they could possibly look at that game and that could be a deciding factor. Maybe that could be a game where, like, because the Patriots lost this game against Miami and, they both have almost identical records, or even if it's separated by 1 game, even if it's a one-game difference, if the Dolphins are one win better than the New England Patriots, and that's why they miss out of the playoffs, the Patriots are going to look at that game and just say, if Damian Harris would have held on to that ball and we win week 1, we're in the dance. Instead, we missed the playoffs because our running back fumbled the ball with 3 minutes left in the ball game. So that's just overall a tough game to lose that way. I mean, I would rather be like myself and the Packers and lose 38-3 when you already know the game's over at about the third quarter than lose a heartbreaker, final 3 minutes left, ball falls out. That's just a tough loss. You hate to see it, but I will say Mac Jones, he did have a good performance. He didn't really put the ball in harm's way, and you just hope he progresses as the season goes on. Like CJ mentioned, they play the Jets next week, so hopefully they have a bounce-back performance then. And, for the Dolphins, let's see if they can keep up that success. I mean, they won 10 games last year with Brian Flores. I believe this is his third year here in Miami. Let's see if that third season as a head coach and see if he progresses and finally gets the Dolphins over the hump and gets them in the playoff berth. And with that, let's move on to another young QB making his team debut. That is the highly touted prospect. Some people say he's the next Andrew Luck. Some people may even say the next prospect is the next John Elway. That man is sunshine himself. Mr. Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars, with head coached by Urban Meyer, made their team debuts against the Houston Texans this past weekend, and boy, did we have an interesting turn of events. The Houston Texans, all their drama in the offseason. Robert Kraft's buddy Deshaun Watson, them two had themselves a thing that went down the offseason. For those of you guys who don't know, Deshaun Watson really loves his massages and, just all parts. You name it, it's there. That could be a bang shot there. But a lot of drama happened. They had Tyrod Taylor beat QB1 for the Houston Texans, and boy, did he look dominant out there. I'll throw it out to you, CJ. The Houston Texans dominating victory 37-21 over Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Were you shocked about this game and how it went?
Yeah, I was shocked. I thought it'd be a closer game between two teams that are very good. But it's indeed defensively for Jacksonville. They got to get that together. You have to get that together moving forward. They want to have, some type of success. Lawrence struggled, but he also had some time. I think he had 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, if I'm not mistaken. So he struggled.
He sure did.
Yeah. So, it was hot and cold game. Had some good moments. Had some moments he could definitely improve on. But that's just a part of being a rookie. Part of being a rookie, young guy. Didn't get put in a great situation. That's what happens when you're a number 1 pick. You're gonna go to a bad team, and they still have a lot of things they need to work on. I guess defensively, got to give credit to the Texans, man. They came out, Tyrod Taylor. People say what they want. He's a solid quarterback. When he gets his opportunities, he makes the most of it at certain times. So had a good game. I still don't see anything going forward for either of these teams, but just got to give Texans credit. Everything what's looming around that team right now with Deshaun, and for them to come out, get a nice division W, it's pretty good.
Definitely great points made there, CJ. I'll throw that same question to you, Ben. How shocked were you about this outcome?
Unfortunately, not that shocked. I mean, I was shocked on how well Tyrod played. I mean, honestly, that was a good day from him. I did hear someone on Philly radio say to look out for him on fantasy, so that was a crazy take by that guy on Philly radio on WIP, and he was right. I got to hand it to him. But I unfortunately was not surprised on how awful the Jags looked. Offense, defensively, I mean, Trevor Lawrence threw for over 330, but he also threw 3 picks to go with it. He looked a little inexperienced, to be completely honest with you. And their defense looked so bad on tape that I really see them with the number 1 pick in the draft. If you can't beat Tyrod Taylor and the rebuilding Texans, you're going to have a lot of trouble. And by the way, one of my overreactions that I said for the Wise Cheese show with me and Matt Scora, Urban Meyer will lose his job by the before the end of the year.
Yeah, he did.
After
he did
one season?
Oh, I think he's done. I don't think they're winning the game until he gets fired.
Wow.
until he gets fired. Well, with that,
flaming hot take.
yeah, that's as I would say in the herd, that's a hot one. That is a hot take right there. And what's the funniest fact is, if you were to date back from last year, the Jacksonville Jaguars single-handedly went 0-16. Their last win was week 1 of last year. They lost 15 straight to end the season, and they lost week 1 this year. So the Jaguars are 0-16. They're nearing 0-17. Could it be done this year? Maybe the Jacksonville Jaguars are on the right path to get to that point. But I just want to simply say, overall, man, I was very impressed with what I saw from the Houston Texans. I was very impressed with Tyrod Taylor and how he played. I mean, he wasn't a liability, didn't turn the ball over, had almost 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, ran the ball effectively. Saw Mark Ingram get 26 carries, 85 yards for a touchdown. Very effective there. You saw Brandon Cooks play phenomenal, 5 catches, 132 yards. And CJ, you love seeing your boy Danny Amendola, 5 catches, 34 yards to get that touchdown during the game. And you also have to look at this defense played phenomenal. They had 3. Did you know there was a stat on to where the Houston Texans defense all of last year had 3 interceptions? And just this game alone, they matched that with 3 interceptions. And I just want to simply say, overall, for the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence, the Trevor Lawrence stat line reminds me of the classic old Jameis Winston stat line, you know, where Jameis would have 300-plus yards, 4 touchdowns, and have the 4 picks. Trevor Lawrence, you look at the same stat line, 332 yards, 3 touchdowns, but 3 picks. Granted, he's a rookie. He's going to improve. He's going to keep on learning. But, yeah, I mean, the Jacksonville Jaguars, man, they looked awful. That is a defense to where, I mean, hell, if you put CJ in that secondary, it might get better. A lot of people. A lot of people don't say this, but I mean, CJ, he is known as a playmaker. I mean, playmaker's a menace. I mean, you put the playmaker on defense or offense, better watch out, Jacksonville, because you might be going 16-1 if you got the playmaker on there.
Nah, man, that team is bad, man.
It was, as we classify as, down horrendous. That Jacksonville defense is just flat out mediocre. And with that being said, let's move on to another game that was highlighted pretty well. Let Russ cook. And the Seattle Seahawks traveled to Indianapolis to play the Indianapolis Colts, and they got a big victory, winning 28-16. I will start off first by saying I felt like this was a great win by Seattle. This was a win to where, you know, you kind of had to get it done. I mean, you look at what happened last year. You know, you go 12-4, you win the NFC West. I mean, a lot of people had high expectations for Seattle last year. A lot of people thought, hey, maybe this could be the year the Seahawks could go on a run, just like the old times. Maybe they could run it back. They got Russell Wilson. Let Russ cook. He needs to get an MVP vote. And he started out guns blazing. Through the first half of the season, he was the runaway favorite, the runaway MVP. But then something happened in the second half. Russell Wilson's performance dipped in the second half. The team didn't dip. The team still won games. But his performance as a whole took a hit. And it parlayed into the playoffs, and they were embarrassed by the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, the Seattle Seahawks were 12-4. The Rams were 10-6. The Rams had John Wolford as their QB, and the Seahawks had Russell Wilson at home at Lumen Field, and they were embarrassed in the playoffs. With that sour taste in their mouth, they came out guns blazing over the Indianapolis Colts, and man, did Russell Wilson look good. 18-23, 254 yards, 4 touchdowns. Tyler Lockett looked like a beast. 4 catches, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. DK Metcalf did his thing. May have only had 60 yards, but he got in 4 catches and got a touchdown. You also saw a little bit of Gerald Everett action. This was a solid win for the Seattle Seahawks. I felt like this was a win to where they had to get it, especially when you are in a tough conference like the NFC West, where every win matters. it's good to see the Seahawks on the right track, especially with how their season ended last year with really a bad sour taste when you lose to a division rival like the Los Angeles Rams. So I think overall, great win by Seattle. Let's hope they could keep that up next week when they play the Tennessee Titans, because that could very well be a matchup where we could see two potential playoff teams in the near future. I'll throw out this next question to you, CJ. What was your overall thoughts of this game?
Russell, man. Russell's special, bro. I mean, we already knew this, and just continuing to gain chemistry with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Colts, I mean, Carson Wentz, I know people are going to get on Carson Wentz. And listen, I mean, obviously Ben knows a lot about Wentz over the last few seasons, but I'll give him a little bit of. I'll defend him a little bit. I'll just say, it took him he had the injury, then he had COVID. So it's going to take some time for him to gel a little bit with this team and get it together. But, Seattle, the key for Seattle, man, is Chris Carson. They got to run the football. They got to get it going. Russell's, he could push the ball down the field. We know how special he is moving out the pocket, making plays, things of that nature. But they can establish the run. Chris Carson, play action, getting guys like Tyler Lockett going deep. Metcalf could take it to the crib as well on deep passes. They're going to be tough to stop, and the defense played solid too. They got Dunlap, they got Jamal Adams, they got some Bobby Wagner, they got some solid guys on all three levels. So they're going to be a good team. You could always book them for 10 to 11 games wins as long as those guys are healthy. So good win by Seattle.
Definitely a good win by Seattle. I'll throw that same question out to you, Ben. What were your overall thoughts of this victory by the Seattle Seahawks?
I mean, it went the way that I thought it would. I don't think Indianapolis is going to be as strong of a team this year, especially that they have that bum at a quarterback position. Look, I mean, Russell looked really special, and I mean, if they could spread the ball to all corners of the field, get the receivers involved, get the run game going, maybe even throw a screen pass in there with Chris Carson, because he's definitely strong enough to do it. I mean, Seattle's going to be tough to beat. Now, here's my favorite part. Talking about Carson Wentz. I mean, imagine trading a quarterback that's bad and him still being bad. Like, imagine the odds of it. I mean, the only thing that has me a little optimistic for Wentz is that he's paired up back with Frank Reich. And that's who really made Wentz truly special, was Frank Reich. They had a great coach-quarterback relationship, and maybe they can rebuild that, but something's happened to Wentz psychologically and also physically that's causing this mess that he's in right now. Because he needs to be like a superhero. He's running around like a mouse in a box that's trapped and gets sacked for like 20-plus yards every time. Like, he doesn't need to do that. Just keep your eyes down the field. Don't try to be the athlete that you're not, because that obviously the knee and the injury problems, it's affected the way he runs, honestly, because he's not that athlete he used to be anymore. He has to be a pocket passer. He needs to learn that, or else the Colts are going to be in big trouble on offense. And I'm dead serious about that. And I think the defense would then have to step up, and then the Colts are in a mess.
Yeah, that's definitely something we do not want to have happen, especially, I mean...
Oh, actually, I do want that to happen because I get the pick from the Colts.
Facts.
So let's go Jalen Hurts. Wentz, keep getting sacked.
All right, well, I will say the famous Carson Wentz advocator, Anthony Conover, did not like this performance. I mean, there's still an APB out for Wentz-Annapolis, where that went. But, overall, let's hope. I mean, the Colts, the next two games are going to be very tough. I mean, Wentz-Annapolis, if he wants to win MVP, he plays the Rams next week and then the Titans week 3. Definitely going to be a rough patch for the Indianapolis Colts and Wentz-Annapolis himself.
He'll be the MVP if he gets me a good pick. He'll be the MVP of this city.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see what happens here. We have another game that went down to the wire. It's very interesting to see between both these teams. And that is the Minnesota Vikings versus the Cincinnati Bengals. That's right. We had our very second overtime game this season. Right. And it almost resulted in a tie. as the Cincinnati Bengals walked away with the victory 27-24, thanks to a game-winning field goal by McPherson of the Cincinnati, not the Bungles, the Bengals. And they got themselves a big 27-24 victory. I'll throw this out to you, CJ. What were your overall thoughts on this game?
Joe Burrow, man, healthy. Also, everybody was knocking Chase. Look good out there, man. Look good out there. Make some plays, make some big time plays. Caught a touchdown, 5 catches over a buck in receiving yards. I think that chemistry is gonna work again, man. I think those guys are motivated. I think a lot of people already was counting out Chase after a bad preseason where Burrow wasn't even playing really. So it was a big win for Cincy. And the Vikings, I mean, again, they're going to have those type of losses. I mean, they are what they are. They have talent, but that guy that they have on the center in Kirk Cousins just it's hit or miss. He has good games. He'll have a 3 good games stretch, and then he'll fall off and have not be as consistent as he was in those 3 games. So that's kind of what that team is going to be until they figure that out. But they have a lot of talent though. But it was a close game, went down to the wire. And you got to give credit to the Bengals, man, getting it done at home. Burrow's first game back.
The old classic Dennis Green. We are who they thought they were. Going the old fashioned with the Minnesota Vikings. They are who we thought they were. And then I'll throw out that same question to you, Ben, before you head out. What was your overall thoughts on this game as a whole?
Congratulations, Bungles. Honestly. I mean, Joe Burrow looked good. I mean, he seemed to be moving around okay after the injury. Obviously, with that type of injury, a tore ACL, you're obviously not the same as you used to be. Take a look at D. Rose. Take a look at Odell Beckham. They're not the same as they used to be. But he looked pretty darn good. I'm going to tell you that. Mixon looked great. I mean, Jamar Chase, good for a rookie so far. I mean, I can't wait to see what the Bengals bring because I again, a little overreaction I had on our show last night. 4 AFC North teams would be over 500 that I said. That was my hot take of that day. And you know what? If the Bengals keep playing like this.
Yo, flaming hot takes.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I still think they'll be under 500, but, they'll get a bunch more wins this year than they have been. And I will give credit to the Eagles. At least we tied with the Bengals in overtime instead of lose because that clock did almost drain out for the Vikings and Bengals. But before I go, I'll plug in my stuff real quick. My Twitter's at BenHoyt6. Check out my 3 podcasts, Primetime with Hoyt and Wise Cheese, Cruise with Billy Penn, and Liberty 4 Philly podcasts. Peace out, y'all.
All right, peace, man. Thanks for stopping by, brother.
No problem. Always happy to do it.
All right, man.
Yeah, definitely appreciate your time, Ben. Overall, I mean, I kind of love seeing this. Being an NFC North guy, I love seeing the Vikings crumble. I mean, granted, I did pick Minnesota to win this game. Just because I look at it and see, man. I kind of looked at that meme. Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way they're losing to the Cincinnati Bengals. And what happens? They lose to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Any given Sunday, man. Any given Sunday, bro.
Exactly. That's the definition of any given Sunday. I also want to say I love the performance I saw out of Jamar Chase. I mean, he had a lot of talk of, saying couldn't see the stripes in the ball. It's different than NCAA. I'm just like, this kid, bro. What is he doing? Like, what? Like, why? Like, they really drafted this guy 5th overall when they could have Penei Sewell. And boy, did he light it up. 5 catches, 101 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, he looked great out there. And an avid from Unwrapped Sports Network, Corey loves his Joe Mixon. And boy, did Joe Mixon show up. 29 carries, 127 yards, and a touchdown, averaging almost 4.5 yards per attempt. Love to see that out of Joe Mixon. And this is just overall a fantastic win for the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, that's
how they want to play. They want to run the ball. They want to run the ball first.
This is a win for the Cincinnati Bengals that you look at it and say, Zach Taylor is off on the right path. The hot seat is still hot, but maybe it's cooled just a tad bit after the great win over the Minnesota Vikings. With that being said, let's move on to another game that was very traumatic. That is the San Francisco 49ers versus the Detroit Lions. I will start off first by saying this was probably the most interesting game that I have ever seen. I mean, we saw it all. I mean, we saw the San Francisco 49ers start off hot, and then the Lions would come back and match it up. It was a close game, went 7-0, then 7-7, and then it was 14-7, and then 14-10, and then the Niners just got hot. And they got flaming hot. They went up. It was 38-10 in the third quarter. And the final score was, for those of you, 1-33.
Yeah. It's a little choppy over there, bro. It's lagging a little bit.
Almost made the most incredible comeback that we have ever seen.
All right, good.
I mean, they were down by 28 points in the third quarter, and they made this game hella interesting. I'll throw it out to you, CJ. What were your overall thoughts of this game?
They smacked them in the mouth early. We thought it was going to be a blowout, easy cake for the 49ers. And then the Lions, they came out and they fought back at home. Got to give Dan Campbell credit, getting those guys going, keeping those guys fighting. A lot of bad teams as of late, they just lay down and just let those good teams just continue to pummel them. But they didn't do that. They fought back. They fought back. They played hard. Got to give them credit. But 49ers is just a better team. You can't have a half like that. You can't have three quarters like that and expect to win football games in the NFL. So they got to clean up some things. But I like their resiliency. I like how they fought back. They're probably not going to win a lot of games this season, but as long as they compete and they play hard, I mean, that's all you can ask for if you're a Lions fan.
That definitely is all you can ask for. I feel like this was a very interesting performance because you saw a lot of great things from Jimmy Garoppolo. 17-25, 314 yards, got a touchdown. And then you saw the rushing attack. Elijah Mitchell was phenomenal, 19 carries, 104 yards and a touchdown. My guy on my fantasy team, Deebo Samuel, 9 catches, 189 yards and a touchdown. He was phenomenal. The 49ers offense as a whole was phenomenal. But what concerned me the most was kind of in that fourth quarter, to where the 49ers did not look good in that fourth quarter. They looked horrible. They let the Detroit Lions back in the game. They muffed the onside kick to where Detroit recovered it. And then Jimmy Garoppolo fumbled a snap, which then Detroit recovered. This game was a lot more closer than it intended to be. But at the end of the game, it's all about wins and losses. You got the victory at 1-0. That's why you try and build up the big lead, unless if you're the Atlanta Falcons. You build up the big lead to handle a situation like this happening. I mean, this was a situation that almost went bad for the 49ers. It almost went really bad. But like you mentioned, CJ, I loved as well seeing the resilience. I will say maybe Dan Campbell bit some of the 49ers kneecaps at halftime. Maybe that's what turned things around. But I mean, this is a momentum thing for the Detroit Lions on where maybe they go into next week on a higher note. Granted, they play my Green Bay Packers on Monday Night Football. And if there's one thing I do not want to see is I do not want to see the Lions get a victory at Lambeau Field. I do not want that to happen.
Yo, that would be crazy. I can't even talk, bro, because we play the Jets, and man.
Yeah, I was gonna say if the Green Bay Packers lose to the Detroit Lions on Monday Night Football, and I'm on the hard count next week, I will be fuming. Like the little rant I had earlier, it's gonna be a bigger rant if that happens. I hope it doesn't.
Yeah.
Hope it doesn't, but we'll see what happens. But overall, great win by the 49ers. They keep pace in the NFC West, which is a gauntlet division. And they showed, like you mentioned, CJ, a lot of resilience. Let's move on to another game that went down this past Sunday. Another great game. A rematch of the AFC divisional round. The Cleveland Browns and the Kansas City Chiefs. I'll start off first by simply saying the Cleveland Browns let this game slip away. The Cleveland Browns, for those of you guys that do not know, were up 22-10 against the Kansas City Chiefs at halftime, and they lost 33-29. Baker Mayfield had a great game, 21 of 28, 321 yards, and the interception at the end of the game, which we will discuss later on. And their rushing game.
No touchdowns. Got to get touchdowns.
Exactly, but he didn't get any touchdowns, but they got their touchdowns on the run. Nick Chubb, 15 carries, 83 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kareem Hunt, 6 carries, 33 yards, got himself a touchdown. Jarvis Landry, 2 carries, 13 yards, and a touchdown. All their touchdowns came via the run. The receiving tree was not a good one. A lot of the players got a lot of targets, got a lot of receptions, but did not cash in for any touchdowns. And overall, just for the Cleveland Browns, there's a stat line for the Cleveland Browns that still stands to this day. The Cleveland Browns have not won a Week 1 game since 2004.
Wow.
And that will stand for another year. So the Cleveland Browns, CJ, have gone 17 years continuing without a Week 1 victory. And the reason why I say they let it slip is just for the simple fact of you're up in this game. You're up 22-10.5. You're controlling the game. And what seemed to change the momentum was when the punter of the Browns muffed the snap. They muffed the snap when they were inside their own 20-yard line. They muffed the snap. Punter couldn't handle it. Ball's down. And it's Chiefs ball at that very spot. They cash in, get a touchdown. And obviously the Browns, they come back and get a touchdown on their own. But then the Chiefs come back with Kelsey. Bam, gets the jump with Hill. And then he takes the lead. The Chiefs take the lead 33-29. And like I mentioned earlier, Baker Mayfield, he's driving down the field. But then the costly interception at the end of the game. Great statement win for the Kansas City Chiefs. But on the other side of the spectrum, a heartbreaking loss for the Cleveland Browns, especially when they almost got revenge from last year's playoff loss. Instead, they lose another heartbreaker. And especially when you're down in the AFC North, an opportunity to get one up in the division and you lose that heartbreaker of a game, it's a tough pill to swallow. I'll throw out that same question to you, CJ. Do you feel the same way about this game like I do?
Yeah, you got to score. If you're Baker Mayfield, you got to get passing touchdowns, man. Mahomes, they could score at a clip at any given moment. We saw that in their Super Bowl run. And you got to make plays. You got to score touchdowns. Now you got the rushing touchdowns, and it was there for the taking. You're going up against that team in Arrowhead. You got to, as a quarterback, you got to make those plays. You got to make those plays down the field. You got to make those key plays to keep drives alive. And just Baker, he did a solid job. He just didn't do enough. Mahomes played excellent. 3 touchdowns. It would seem like in a row. They came back and just dominated the Browns in that second half. Tyreek Hill, unguardable. There's nothing you can do. I mean, you play too high, then Kelsey's going to eat. If you put one high, then it's just over. I mean, as long as Mahomes gets some time, even if he doesn't get time, he can roll out. Those guys have great chemistry down the field. He's going to throw the deep ball. It's tough to stop. Granted, Baker didn't have his guy in Odell, his deep threat, on Sunday, and they still put up 29 points, which is good. But I mean, against the Chiefs, man, you gotta put up 30. They barely got to 30, but it just wasn't enough, and they drove down the field. I think Baker, his feet got a little bit caught underneath him in the pocket due to interception. That's tough, man. Tough loss for him. They'll bounce back. They're still a good team. They have a lot of talent over there on that team. It's just if Baker wants to get that bag. A lot of people talk about Lamar and is he going to get the bag, like the Josh Allen bag? Baker's in that same realm, I believe. If he wants to get that type of money, he's going to have to make some plays of his own. You can't just run the ball. You can't just run the ball and give it to Chubb and Hunt the whole time. You got to be able to make some plays on your own to show confidence in the team that you could be our guy for the foreseeable future.
That'll definitely be something. We'll see what happens with the Cleveland Browns in the future with Baker Mayfield. That obviously loss right there is a hard one to swallow, especially when, we could very well see this matchup again in the playoffs. This could very well be another playoff matchup that we see in the near future. Hopefully the Cleveland Browns learn from this mistake, and hopefully the mistakes that they made this game won't be repeated for the game next week or when they play the Chiefs in the near future. With that being said, we are down to 3 more games left. We got the Broncos, Giants, Bears, Rams, Ravens, Raiders. Let's first discuss the Denver Broncos versus the New York Giants. And boy, did Teddy Two Gloves had himself a performance. Teddy Two Gloves was fantastic, leading the Broncos to victory, like I mentioned earlier, 27-13. I'll throw that question out to you, CJ. What were your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, Teddy played well, played great. I was just watching some of his film against that Giants game a few hours ago before we got on. He looked good. He looked good, man. Looks comfortable. I see why Vic Fangio went with him over Drew Lock. Doesn't turn the ball over, makes the right reads, has the ability to push the ball down the field as well if need be. They're going to give the rock to Melvin Gordon. A lot of people sleeping on Melvin Gordon. He used to be one of the top backs in the NFL just a few years ago. Got to kind of mixed up with the contract situation with the Chargers. He's still a really good back, and that's what they're going to do. And they're going to play defense. That defense is stout. They got two dogs on that front line, and Chubb and Miller, and then you got Surtain, the rookie, and Kyle Fuller on the back end. Justin Simmons at safety. They're good. They're a good team. They're really talented. Noah Fant at tight end. Tough that Jerry Jeudy went down with the high ankle sprain. He'll be out for a few weeks, but they still have a lot of guys. KJ Hamler, Cortland Sutton as well, coming back off the ACL. If they're clicking and that defense is together, they could be really good. For the Giants, it's tough to really say because Saquon didn't really get into a rhythm. Saquon didn't really, obviously it's his first game back of the ACL. You don't want to give him too much of a load in the first game. You want to give him some slow reps, but Daniel Jones just he is what he is. He is what he is, man. He is what he is. They have a lot of talent over there. I mean, Sterling Shepard looks solid over there.
And it is. Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, it is what it is.
It is right. It is what it is. Right. Yeah, exactly. And Evan Ingram should be back. That should be a nice security blanket for Daniel Jones. Here coming up, Kenny Golladay made some plays here and there, but it's going to come down to Saquon, man. He's going to be that guy. I took a hit in fantasy. You started him. I only had about 3 points. Understood from a football situation. For a fantasy situation, that hurt a little bit, but for the Giants, again, they're in a division where they just got to just kind of get it together in key moments. You definitely got to win those division games. And if they could do that, they could be in the hunt just to win that division. I don't know. I don't see them getting a wild card or anything like that. But tough loss for them, but a really promising look for Denver. And a division that, like I said, all teams got the W in week 1. Looks pretty competitive.
Mm-hmm. It definitely does look competitive. I agree with you as well. This was a solid win for the Denver Broncos. Teddy Bridgewater looked phenomenal. He looked like a poised veteran out there. Great win by Denver. And, for the Giants, same song and dance. Disappointing performance by Daniel Jones. Saquon Barkley did not look good. 10 attempts, 26 yards. Hopefully the Giants can bounce back because this did not look good for the Giants as a whole. Let's move on to the Sunday night football game. Chicago Bears, Los Angeles Rams. Rams got the job done 34-14 over the Chicago Bears. What were your thoughts on that game, CJ?
Matt Stafford finally has a complete team. Lions been down for so long. They've had talent, but just not on both sides of the football. And with a great play caller like Sean McVay, dialing up calls for him with his ability, his talent, they're going to be a really scary team. And they showed it on Sunday Night Football against the Bears. Deep passes, extremely accurate down the field. They could just imagine if they had Cam Akers. I mean, they could do anything. They'd be completely balanced. It'd be tough to stop them because they want to run the ball. That's what they want to do first, and then work off the play action. And they still did that against Chicago on Sunday. So, going to be a scary team. They have the two best defenders you could say in the NFL on their team, and Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. So that's going to be tough to stop. They could take away. They could get to the quarterback and stop your best team's favorite receiver. And not a lot of teams can say that. So they're going to be in the discussion. For NFC title, potential Super Bowl contender. If they continue to stay consistent, you saw McVay take Goff to the Super Bowl. So if those guys can stay healthy, I don't see why they won't be challenged up there with Tampa Bay in that conference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this was a fantastic win by the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, this clearly showed that Matthew Stafford did not have a lot of weapons while his time was in Detroit. I mean, his only good weapon was Calvin Johnson. He goes to the Rams. They have a confident coaching staff. They have a confident coaching staff, a great defense, and a great running game. And just Matthew Stafford, he lit it up. You know, he pick a poison. And, I mean, you saw two big plays from the Rams, in my opinion, which pretty much separated the game. Because, I mean, you look at in that Sunday night game, I was with Ben Hoyt on our show Prime Time with Hoyt and Wise Cheese. We pretty much were live streaming the game on Sunday night. I mean, you look at it was a close game for most of it. I mean, the Bears defense kept the Rams in check. You know, they kept the game close, but as a defense, you could only hold on for so long. And it was just simple. The fact of the Bears offense just didn't get it clicking. They didn't get the job done.
What do you expect?
Exactly. What do you expect when you got to verse that Rams offense? And two big plays, in my opinion, highlighted the game that kind of put the game away. First, it was a 67-yard pass play from Stafford to Van Jefferson. And what led up to that, it was two different momentum swings. The Bears were on a momentum drive, the first drive. Started with the Montgomery 42-yard run. They're moving the ball down the field. And then Andy Dalton, ball tipped up in the air, and it's intercepted. Drive over, so much for moving it down the field. Drive over, 3 and out, pick in the end zone. And what does Stafford do that next play? Almost 2 plays later, play action, slings it down, wide open is Van Jefferson. It's not touched down by the Bears. He gets up, runs for it in, touchdown Rams. That's the first domino to fall. And the next domino to fall, which pretty much sealed the deal, was just Cooper Kupp burning that entire Bears defense. I mean, I heard Dan Orlovsky simply say Matt Stafford fooled the safety with his eyes. But, I mean, call what you want. Some people say it was a blown coverage. Some people say the quarterback fooled him. Cooper Kupp was opened by about 10, 15 yards ahead of the defense. And, you know, that play right there by Cooper Kupp pretty much sealed the deal. And, you know, you just look at it from a perspective of we saw one team that looked like a playoff contender, a legit team, and the Los Angeles Rams. And we saw a team in the Chicago Bears who are a borderline playoff team, but will most likely miss the playoffs. The only thing I would highlight with the Chicago Bears is Justin Fields and his limited snaps look good. He was really good on that rushing touchdown, and he made a really good pass play on 2nd and down to make it 3rd and 1. Other than that, that was pretty much the only highlights for the Chicago Bears in that game. Overall, Rams are phenomenal. Matt Stafford looked great. Let's see if he can keep it up for week 2 when they got to play the Indianapolis Colts. Now, with that being said, let's move on to our final game of week 1. Potentially the game of the year, even though it was week 1. But what a back-and-forth game here. The very first game in a full sellout crowd in Las Vegas. The Las Vegas Raiders pulled off the upset victory over the Baltimore Ravens with a 33-27 victory in overtime. CJ, what were your thoughts on this Monday night game in Las Vegas?
Great first Monday night to start the season. Vegas was rocking. You know, they were rocking. They had all the stars out, a whole bunch of guys. They had Bruce Buffer announced the team. You know, icon over there in Vegas with the UFC. So it was good. It was a great environment. And then going on to the game, similar to what I said with New England, man. Fumbles. Lamar didn't hold on to the ball. You gotta have 2 hands. You gotta when you're in the pocket like that and you move around in the pocket. You know, these coaches, these defensive staffs, and these defensive coaches, they're telling these players, go for the football. Don't get the sack. Go for the football. Get the ball out of his hands. And if you're not holding on to the football with 2 hands, you're susceptible to fumbling it. And that's what happened to Lamar at the end of that game. Derek Carr looked really good. It was tough for them to really establish the run. You know, we know Josh Jacobs is hurt right now. Him and Darren Waller just have great connection, man. You know, he's a stud, man. He's like a taller Antonio Gates type. You know, he could he's not the fastest guy, but he's a great route runner. He knows how to use his size, you know, kind of box out guys, get in position and get those first downs. And if you sleep on him, he could blow by you and get some yak as well, man. I like his game a lot. But you know, they almost gave it up. You know, he threw the interception in the red zone. and then Lamar just gave it right back to them. And then I don't know what the defense. I don't know what that call was by Harbaugh and those guys. I don't know what that call was. All out blitz, cover zero, leaving Zay Jones wide open for the walk off in OT. That was tough. That's tough for the Ravens. Tough loss in the division where you need every win. We know that division is going to be stout. It's going to be competitive. So for them to have it and then lose it like that, tough for Baltimore. We'll see how they respond next week.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough loss for the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, you look at the Ravens. This was kind of a game that you had to have. I mean, knowing that you play the Kansas City Chiefs next week. I mean, this was a loss to where for the Baltimore Ravens, it's a tough pill to swallow. I mean, especially when you are in a division with the Cleveland Browns, who you know are going to be in the conversation for the playoff picture, and the way how the Pittsburgh Steelers looked against the Buffalo Bills, they could be in the playoff conversation as well. That's a loss to where the Ravens are going to look at that and simply say, that loss could cost us the division. I mean, even though the Browns went 0-1, and the only team in the AFC North that got a win was the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Ravens are going to look at that game and just simply say, if we lose a division, what was that?
Bengals got a W too.
Oh, and the Bengals, of course. I can't believe I forgot about the Cincinnati Bengals.
Right.
But like I was mentioning beforehand, the Ravens are going to look at this game and just simply say, man, if we lose a division, it's because of this game. If we have to settle for a wild card and not get a home playoff game at M&T Bank Field, it's going to be because of this game is why we won't get that playoff spot and win the division. And I also think this proves to show that their running back core is really dearly missing. I mean, no J.K. Dobbins or Gus Edwards. I mean, it paid in huge dividends. I mean,
tough.
Lamar Jackson was a leading running back. And he's the quarterback
he
who
always
plays the
is.
ball. I mean, granted, he always is, but I mean, Lamar Jackson, 12 carries, 86 yards. Tyson Williams, 9 carries, 65 yards, a touchdown. I mean, this is just simply one of those losses for the Ravens to where this is going to affect the playoff picture just for them. All right, this is going to be one to where by the season's end, if they're not AFC North champs, they're going to look back at this game week 1 and just simply say, that's where they lost it. That's where they lost the division. I mean, obviously, it's going to be tough to bounce back from it because you got to verse the Chiefs next week. But, we'll see what the Baltimore Ravens can do moving forward. That being said, we have recapped every single game all of last week as we near hour 2. CJ and I are going to give our AFC and NFC player of the week. I will start off first by saying the NFC player of the week is eating W's. Jameis
really
Winston.
Did that.
That's right. I'm going Jameis Winston eating the W's. My man's, he may have not had 150 yards passing, but he had 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and he went 14 of 20. Jameis Winston, I witnessed it firsthand. You were my NFC player of the week because we may not ever see another performance like this out of you again.
Sheesh.
And, hey, it's a week-by-week performance basis, my friend. And last time I checked, getting 5 touchdowns, I think that's NFC player of the week worthy. And for my AFC player of the week, I mean, you got a lot of options, but I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes for leading the Kansas City Chiefs to a comeback victory over the Cleveland Browns. He had another dominant performance. Just when you think he's out, he finds a way to come back and win. Those are my AFC and NFC player of the weeks. AFC is Patrick Mahomes. NFC is W-Man, Jameis Winston. What about you, CJ? Who is your AFC and NFC player of the weeks? Do you have Jameis Winston?
Nah, I'm going with Kyler Murray. Played an excellent football game on Sunday, man. Rolling out the pocket, making plays. He reminds me a lot of Russell Wilson, honestly. Maybe a little bit quicker, too. Special, man. This is year 3. This is supposed to be the year where, they say, these young, really good quarterbacks make that step. into that potentially elite category, similar like we saw with Josh Allen last year. So he looked great. He played a great game, 4 touchdowns, was running a little bit. I think he had 80 rushing yards. Going to Nashville, going to Tennessee, and getting that done against a team where a lot of people had a lot of high expectations for to start the season with the offensive weapons they have. He came out and got it done. I have to give him credit. And then my AFC, I'm gonna go with Derek Carr. I'm gonna go with Derek Carr, man. Stayed resilient. Didn't have a great run game last night to complement him. Threw the ball 50 times or something like that. Threw for 435 yards. Had some key drives where it looked like they could potentially lose it. Kept it going. Big plays to Ruggs. Big plays to Edwards. Him like I said, him and Waller's connection is really great. I think he played great on Monday night, getting the key win in Las Vegas. I'm sure a lot of Raider fans have some, they like him, but they don't know if they just don't know a little bit. And I think, he played against a really good defense yesterday. Again, and I think he played really well. I'm gonna give him my AFC Player of the Week for Week 1.
Those are definitely good AFC and NFC Players of the Week. Would you like to do the quick pick'ems for Week 2?
Yeah. Let's do a quick, fast through.
Alrighty. Well, we will close out this episode of the Hard Count as we enter hour 2. As always, it is a pleasure to be on the Hard Count talking football with you guys.
Yes, sir.
Let's do quickly, CJ. New York Giants at Washington football team Thursday night. Who you got?
I'm gonna go with the Giants. In this one. They come back, they get it done. I'm just not sure. Taylor Heineke, I know it's in Washington, but I'm gonna go with the Giants getting that done. They had their number last year. I think they keep it going.
Ooh, I'm going different. I'm going Washington. I feel like Taylor Heineke getting the start. We saw a lot of success with Taylor Heineke, especially in that playoff game against Tampa. And to be honest, I'm not sold on the Giants. I had them finishing last in the division this year, and they proved me right against Denver. And I just think in Washington, I think they'll get revenge. I'm going Washington. Let's move on to the Sunday games. Cincinnati at Chicago. I got the Chicago Bears bouncing back and beating the Bengals. Who do you got, CJ?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Cincinnati, man. I just don't trust.
2 different ones. I like it.
Yeah. I just don't trust Andy Dalton. I just feel like he's just unless Fields comes in there and makes some splash plays for them in key moments. I just don't see them getting it done, man. They have Allen Robinson. Montgomery's good, but I like the Bengals, man. They have some talented guys over there, especially on that offensive side. So it's going to be a close one. Obviously, I'm not saying any blowouts or things like that, but I'm going to take Cincy.
Well, I like that. Already starting out the gates, 2 different picks. I hope we agree on this one. Houston at Cleveland. Who you got, CJ?
Yeah, I gotta go. I gotta go with the Browns. I gotta go with the Browns. I know they had a tough loss against Kansas City, but Houston played well in that first game, but that was the Jags. I think the Browns bounce back and get their first win of the season.
I want to agree with you as well. I got the Cleveland Browns first game in a full capacity stadium in Cleveland. I mean, I think last time the Cleveland Browns saw their full capacity crowd, they were only a 6-win team. Now they're a team that's consistently a playoff team. Give me the Browns in the dog house, dog pound. It's going to be rocking in Cleveland. Let's move on to another game. Los Angeles Rams at the Indianapolis Colts. I will start off first. Give me the Ramilies. Matthew Stafford looked great. I believe he's going to keep it up. In Indy, Rams get the job done. What about you, CJ?
Yeah, I'm going with the Rams as well. It's going to be tough to stop them in the run game, play action game. They got some, talented guys at wide receiver, and again, those 2 guys, man, on the defensive side, bro, just tough Sunday or Thursday or Monday for any team going up against Aaron Donald or Jalen Ramsey. So I'm gonna go with Los Angeles in this one, even on the road.
Hey, man, like the iconic words of CJ, it's tough.
Yeah,
Tough for the Indianapolis Colts back-to-back weeks. Let's move on to another game. Buffalo at Miami. CJ, who you got?
Man, I hope it's a tie, honestly. But I'm gonna say Buffalo. I know Buffalo's on the road. They had, they kind of, they got smacked in the mouth a little bit against Pittsburgh. I think those guys expected to win that game last week. Miami is going to be a tough game. Brian Flores, excellent head coach. I just think Josh Allen makes more plays than Tua in that one.
I agree with you as well. I got the Buffalo Bills winning this one. I believe the Buffalo Bills will bounce back. Granted, it is in Miami, but I just think I also think the Dolphins got lucky in Week 1. I think the Dolphins got lucky in beating New England. I think they're going to come back down to earth a little bit. I think Buffalo is going to open on a terror. I think Josh Allen's going to put on a clinic, and I think Buffalo is going to take care of business against Miami. This is going to be a no-brainer game for both of us. Patriots at the Jets. CJ, I already know who you're going with. I got the New England Patriots beating the New York Jets. I believe this is going to be a game where Mac Jones and company are just going to the Jets, going to New Jersey, and they're just going to flat out dominate the Jets. I mean, if the Patriots don't win this game, panic button will be pressed, and all of Boston. And CJ, tell me why it's the Patriots.
I'm going with the Pats, obviously, as you guys know here on the show, big time Pats fan. So, again, I think we bounce back. I think the offense plays better. I think Josh McDaniels let Mac Jones, get a little bit more passing plays, opens up the playbook a little bit more. I guess the Jets. This is my birthday's on Monday, next Monday. So hopefully they can get that W for me. That's always a great W when the Patriots win on my birthday weekend. So hopefully they can do that.
How old?
Well, I'm 27. I'll be 27.
Ooh,
Yes,
big 2-7. So let's hope the Pats take care of business. Get the big dub for CJ going on entering year 27. Playmaker. Alrighty. With that being said, let's move on to San Francisco at Philadelphia. CJ, who you got?
I'm gonna go with the Niners. I'm gonna go with the Niners in this one. Yeah. I'm gonna go with the Niners. I think Philadelphia. They played solid. They played solid against Atlanta, like we talked about throughout the show. But the Niners have too much firepower, man. I think it's gonna be a really good game because again, I think Philadelphia has some talent as well. But I think that defense might rattle Hurts a little bit, and I'm gonna go with San Fran.
Well, I will say you kind of give a long pause for a hot second. I was about to say, is this man about to pick Philly? Is he going to do the ultimate old stunner, just stun everybody? I was like, okay. Well, I agree with you as well. I'm going with the 49ers. I think the 49ers are clearly overmatched by Philadelphia. The only way Philadelphia has a chance to stay in this game is if that defense plays as well as they did against Atlanta. Other than that, that's about it. I think it's going to be San Francisco dominating victory. They're going to get a big lead, and they're going to keep it that way. With that being said, let's move on to another good game next week. Las Vegas Raiders will travel to Pittsburgh to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. I will start off first by saying I believe it will be the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think their defense shows a lot of promise, a lot of poise. I think they're going to go in, they're going to play Derek Carr and the Las Vegas Raiders, and I believe they're going to shut them down. And I'm even going to be bold enough to say Steelers by double digits.
Oh.
What about you, CJ?
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh as well. I like that defense a lot. Raiders defense made some big plays, though, last night. But I think Pittsburgh gets it done, man. I think Najee Harris gets some more rushing yards. He gets kind of in the rhythm. And Big Ben plays better, too. He didn't play great. He really didn't play great against Buffalo. I would like to see him play a little bit better. So I'm going to go with them. First home game for the Steel City.
Love to hear that. Let's move on to the next game, a divisional rival game. The W man Jameis Winston and the New Orleans Saints travel to Carolina to play the Carolina Panthers. Who you got, CJ?
Good game, sneaky game. Carolina could come out and get that one, man. I mean, we'll see how Jameis plays. We'll see if he's consistent throughout the season. That's what everybody's looking for out of Jameis this year. Can he remain consistent? I'm gonna go with New Orleans, though. I'm gonna go with New Orleans. I think it's gonna be a really good game, a close game, divisional game. Matt Rule is defensive-minded head coach, and the Saints have a really good defense. I just feel like that Saints defense holds McCaffrey a little bit, and they get it done.
Definitely, that Saints defense is going to be phenomenal. We'll see how that fares up against Carolina. Let's move on to a game that I believe you and I think it's a no-brainer. Denver Broncos travel to Jacksonville to play the Jacksonville Jaguars. I will start first by saying I believe the Denver Broncos are going to take care of business. The Broncos are clearly the better equipped team. They have the better quarterback at the moment. They have the better defense, the better offense. I think without Jerry Jeudy, the Broncos are going to still find success. And the way how Jacksonville looked against Houston was not good. Give me the Denver Broncos by double digits over the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, rolling with Denver as well. For all the reasons I talked about in their game against the Giants, Jacksonville is just not there yet, man. They're going to continue to struggle, and I think the Broncos played a great game, and I think they have a style to continue to win some games here. They're going to run the ball, get Melvin Gordon going, work off the play action, and Teddy Bridgewater's going to get it to those guys. So I'm rolling with the Broncos.
That's what I like to hear there. Let's move on to the Minnesota Vikings. We'll travel to Arizona, play the Arizona Cardinals. Who you got, CJ?
Going with the Cards. Again, Kyler really played well. My NFC Player of the Week, and I just feel like they have some really good guys over there, man. I think it's going to be but I don't know about high scoring game, but it's going to be a good game. That front line, Chandler Jones, J.J. Watt, looks like they could be a really scary duo on that front line. So we'll see if they're able to stop Dalvin Cook. That's going to be the key in order to stop Minnesota. I think they do that. I think Kyler has a good game. Roll with Arizona.
How many sacks do you think Chandler Jones is going to get?
I'm gonna say 3.
Oh, 3, all right. Wouldn't that be a crazy start? First 2 games of the NFL season have 8 sacks.
I mean, I saw it firsthand, man. He's special, bro.
Hey, man, that'd be a record pace. I mean, if he could find a way to break Strahan's sack record, that would be amazing. I agree with you as well. Give me the Arizona Cardinals. Offense looks phenomenal. They were clicking on all cylinders against Tennessee. And, I mean, they clicked on cylinders against a playoff team. This is a team that probably won't even sniff the playoffs. Give me Arizona with ease. At home, full stadium. It's going to be rocking. This next game right here, another no-brainer for you and I. The Atlanta Falcons will travel to Tampa Bay versus the Buccaneers. Who you got, CJ?
I mean, come on. Yeah. Rolling with Tampa Bay, man. They didn't look great against Dallas. I will say that. They had some struggles, but I think they cleaned it up against Atlanta, man. Atlanta's secondary. I don't know who they're gonna stop. They got about 5 or 6 guys that are unstoppable, and you got to account for the run game, and then you got the GOAT, dicing them up. So.
Yeah, you do have the GOAT dicing up. I will say, did you see Brady trolling Atlanta?
Yeah, I did see that.
In one of his videos, he saw the time clock. It was 3:28.
Listen, man. They should have ran the ball.
Yeah, they should. You could say the same thing for the Seattle Seahawks too. But I agree as well. I got Tampa. Tampa's going to kill Atlanta. I mean, you got to feel bad for Arthur Smith, first-year head coach, starting off 0-2. It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
One thing I will say for Atlanta, I think the key is you got to see more out of Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts was not good against the Philadelphia Eagles week 1. Hopefully for this game, you see Kyle Pitts get involved more and hopefully get more touches more towards the end zone, because you draft him 4th overall and he's portrayed as the next tight end, the next great one. And he kind of laid a goose egg in the first week. Hopefully he bounced back and has a good week, but there's going to be no chance for Atlanta to beat Tampa Bay. I mean, if Atlanta beats Tampa, hell's frozen over. That's kind of how I feel. I mean,
that would be wow.
This would exactly. And you look at Tampa's favored by 12.5. So I mean, this would be one of those where a big upset can happen. But hey, any given Sunday, as they say.
That's facts.
Any given Sunday. Now, this is going to be a game to where I think it's going to be very interesting. The Dallas Cowboys travel to SoFi Stadium and play the Los Angeles Chargers. And I will start off first by saying, give me them boys. That's right. Them boys will travel to SoFi Stadium and basically play in AT&T Stadium West, because that stadium going to be filled with Cowboys fans.
100%.
And I just think Dallas, they played great against Tampa Bay. They may have lost 29-30, 28, yeah.
30,
29 to 31.
Right. Yep.
but you had a lot of great promises. 4 turnovers in that game. Dak Prescott had 400 yards. You saw great play out of Amari Cooper. You saw great play out of CeeDee Lamb. He had a lot of drops early in the game, but when he made his catches near the end, got himself a touchdown, made some big plays near the end. Actually, I believe it was a pass to CeeDee Lamb that set up the go-ahead field goal.
Yes, it did, yeah.
You know, before Tom Brady did his thing.
Right.
Before that went down. So I feel like Dallas is going to bounce back. They're in the NFC East. This is going to be a game. Do I expect Dallas to bounce back and be 1-1? What about you, CJ? Who you got in this game?
I'm going with Dallas as well. Another good game, close game. Like you said, it's not really a home game because there's going to be so many Cowboy fans there. You know, they have their training camp in Oxnard, California every single year. So it's going to be 50-50 in that stadium. I think they established the run a little bit more as opposed to what they did on Thursday night against the Buccaneers. I'm going to go with Dallas. I think Dak played well, like you said. I think it's going to be a really good game, and I'm going to go with Dallas in this one, man.
That is what I like to hear out of that. Love when we both agree on picks. Let's move on to another game that I believe is going to be very interesting on both sides. The Tennessee Titans will travel to Seattle and play the Seattle Seahawks. Storyline, can the Tennessee Titans bounce back after their putrid performance? And the ultimate famous, let Russ cook. Will the chef stir it up, whip it up against the Tennessee Titans? Or will the Tennessee Titans bounce back and get revenge? I'll throw it out to you, CJ. Who you got?
Going with the Seahawks, man. Century Link. People forgot about them. The 12th man. They used to get it rocking.
Hey, man, it's called Lumen Field. It ain't Century Link no more. It's called Lumen. They did. Okay. It's terrible. It's terrible. I hate it. I had no idea until I looked at it. I was just like, yo, Lumen.
Oh, yeah. Wow. That's tough. But
it's tough.
yeah.
But hey, they got them good leggings though. For the ladies, I think Lumen pants do, right?
Oh yeah, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you that.
Oh, hold on. I'm gonna research that just to make sure.
No word. But I'm a real Seattle man. Regardless what the name of the stadium's called, that 12th man always got it rocking. And they're gonna need him. They're gonna need him against Tennessee. You know, Tennessee, we know what they're going to do. We know they're going to try to do. Just continue to run the ball down the field and then work off that play action, man. And if they're not able to do that, you would hope Tannehill has a better game, passing and running the ball, being a dual threat guy. But Russell Wilson is just too elite. Again, Chris Carson, man, he's going to be the X factor on that team, man, especially on offense. If they could get him going, if he could have a special season, man, they could definitely go where they need to go throughout this season. So I'm a real Seattle.
I 100% agree with you as well. I am also going to go with the Seattle Seahawks as well. I just think they're the better equipped team, got the better built quarterback and Russell Wilson. I think it's going to be one of those games to where the Seattle Seahawks, they're going to figure out how to stop Derrick Henry, and they're just going to do what they do best. You know, they're just going to go in there, they're going to play Tennessee, and their defense is going to shut down King Henry. I mean, they saw the formula. They saw the formula of how to stop the Tennessee Titans, and that's just simply what happens. You know, they're going to follow that same formula, and they're going to stop Derrick Henry. And I looked on the research of Lumen, and it turns out I was dead wrong. The ladies' Pegasus is called Lululemon.
Okay.
Lumen itself looks like a technology platform. So I was clearly wrong on that front.
Silicon Valley, that makes sense. That makes sense over there, West Coast. Yeah.
Silicon Valley, that makes much more sense than Lululemon. I was wrong. I got the lemon part, forgot the Lululemon. So
that would have been something.
Forgive me on that one. With that being said, let's move on to the game that everybody's looking forward to. Sunday Night Football, Week 2. The Kansas City Chiefs travel to Baltimore to play the Baltimore Ravens. Who you got, CJ?
I gotta go with the Chiefs. Every time they play the Chiefs, every time Baltimore plays the Chiefs, they never get it done. Sunday night, Sunday afternoon game, the first time they met up last year. Lamar, this will be a great game for him to come out and win, especially in Baltimore. You have to win these. You gotta stop Mahomes. He's the guy in the conference. You got to be able to stop him. So if you want any type of confidence going into the playoffs and trying to get to that bowl, this will be a great moment for Lamar. I don't think they have the receivers yet to on the outside to even complement the run game. They made some good plays against Las Vegas, but I just don't think it's going to be enough against losing Marcus Peters for the Ravens is huge. Marlon Humphreys is excellent, but they're going to need more than that. I'm gonna go with Kansas City.
Hey man, I'm gonna pull your famous quote. Tough. Give me the Chiefs. Give me the Chiefs over the Ravens as well. It's tough. That's why I said Baltimore should not have lost the game against the Raiders, because knowing you got the Chiefs next week, you got to start off the right foot, start off the right path. Now you're on the verge of possibly being 0-2. Now who knows? They could prove both of us wrong, and maybe Lamar Jackson can finally get over the hump. But this is kind of the same way the stepping stone of Lamar Jackson's career. You know, what held him back at first before last year? People say he couldn't win the big game, couldn't win the playoff game. Well, now he's got that under his belt. And now the next thing is beat the good quarterbacks. Can you beat Patrick Mahomes? And then can he go on a deep playoff run? If he wants to prove the doubters wrong, he has to get the job done week 2 to then hopefully maybe one day get to step 3 to go on a deep playoff run. I don't think he'll get the job done. I think Kansas City is going to prove too much. We saw the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. He had 2 bad turnovers against the Raiders, 2 bad fumbles. It was atrocious. Who knows? Maybe Lamar could go on vengeance and maybe bounce back. It is in Baltimore, so that does help him out. But the Chiefs, they were down 12 against the Browns. They looked dead, and then next thing you know, bam, they snap things into gear and they take off. So, I think it's going to be one of those to where it's going to be a good game, but I think it's going to be one of those where the Chiefs have the ball at the end and they just run the clock out, and that's that. With that being said, to close out this phenomenal hard count episode, we have Monday Night Football, Week 2. The Detroit Lions travel to Lambeau Field to play my Green Bay Packers. You already know who I'm going with. Give me the Green Bay Packers to bounce back against the New Orleans Saints. You're at home in a rocking crowd at Lambeau Field for the first time in full capacity in 2 years. We had some fans in the stands when we had our playoff run last year when Daddy Brady just walked in and just put his GOAT status all over the field, dropping bombs, burning Kevin King like toast. But, I think it's going to be a bounce back win for the Green Bay Packers. This is a win that you have to have, in my opinion, for the Green Bay Packers, because your next 2 games after this one, you got the 49ers at San Francisco and then the Steelers at home. You cannot afford this game because a panic button will be pressing, because you'll be 0-2 going up against a healthy 49er squad. Last time we played the 49ers fully healthy, they kicked their ass by 17 in the NFC Championship game. So that's something that you do not want to have happen. I don't think it will happen. I think you put Green Bay at home, Lambeau Field, bounce back performance, but don't be shocked, though, if Detroit puts up a little bit of a fight, because Dan Campbell's going to be going after some kneecaps.
Yeah, I won't be shocked. I think they're going to play hard, but I just feel like, again, this is the game where they gotta really blast the Lions, man, especially after that game they had against the Saints on Sunday. This is a game where you got to come out and have a great game. Monday night, only game on. Aaron Rodgers has to show out, and I think he will. I think they get it done against the Lions and move forward until week 3.
Definitely. Let's hope that happens for the Packers. And with that being said, that will conclude this edition of the Hard Count. As always, we thank Ethan and Ben for being on, for contributing all the points that they made. And as always, CJ, it's always a pleasure to be on here for the Hard Count, filling in for Anthony Conover. Anthony, hopefully you're feeling better, filling for the next edition of the Hard Count. And hopefully, both of our teams will be 1-1 by the end of week 2. But before we head out, CJ, where can all the people find all the great stuff you do, Playmaker?
You can find me on Twitter, cjames9_. You can find me on Twitch streaming, CJ versus the World. Hard Count right here, 9 o'clock every Tuesday. And also Guard Up Podcast. Basketball is around the corner. So definitely starting to get some basketball content out. as the season approaches, man.
Yeah, definitely all great stuff. You can find my Twitter at Matt_Skura, Instagram at Matt_Skura20. There's a link in my bio. Go check it out. It gives the access to MCS Real Sports Podcast, which is a sports podcast me and my great friend Caleb Conant do. We talk all things NBA and NFL related. You name it. It is available everywhere. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it. It's there. You could always find me whenever I'm free on Tuesdays. I love to get on the hard count. Love to talk all things football related. It's always a pleasure to be on here. And one of my newest shows that I did last Sunday, Prime Time with Hoyt and Wise Cheese. We're trying to get the show here on the Unwrapped Sports Network YouTube channel. I mean, it's not official yet, but we're trying to work our way to get steps to get some progress on that front. And subscribe to the Unwrapped Sports Network YouTube channel, where you can find great shows like The Hard Count. You know, you can find Backstop Banner on Thursdays, Generational Sports on Mondays, and even if you're into Flights Unwrapped, there'll be a place just for you on this YouTube channel, and even on our Unwrapped Sports Network Facebook, Twitter. You can find all of our great stuff that we do there, and for all of our other fellow contributors as well. As always, CJ, it is a pleasure to be on here, The Hard Count. This is Matt Skura filling in for Anthony Conover. You have the great co-host CJ. We are out of here on this fine Tuesday, September 14th.
Catch you guys next